Good morning, everybody. I hope everyone's having a great morning. Thank you for joining us on the live. We're going to be doing a inclusive high-level build using the voice platform. So I hope everyone enjoys it. You guys will be able to have the recording, etc., later as well. But thanks for getting up on this Saturday morning or evening, depending on where you're from, and joining us. Appreciate it very, very much. We're going to keep it pretty light. So we're going to go through the build and hopefully, like I said, you guys pick up some tips, tricks, and make your life easier. Of course, I've got some assets for you as well, and I hope you get a lot out of the build. We're going to be starting to do these. This is the first one of a series, and everybody on our team has been working hard to make this happen. So I just happen to be, doing the build, but there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes to make these successful. So I just wanted to give them a shout out. If you guys have any questions, we're going to enable the chat. So that'll be available as well. So if you have any comments or anything like that, just pop them in the chat. I'll try to hit them as we go. We're going to keep this very, very flexible. So if you have questions, like I said, don't hesitate to ask. Just pop them in the comments and I will see them. And good day to you, Alex. So no problem. So we'll give them a few minutes and we'll get started, but you guys are on time. So we're going to keep this timely. I don't have an end time for this. So if you guys have more questions, comments that we need to address, we're going to address each and every one of them. I'm not going anywhere until each and every one of them are handled. So it is Saturday morning here at 9 a.m. for us. So welcome. Emilades, how are you? Welcome. Thank you for welcoming me back. I appreciate it. Long flight, still a little jet lag, but all good to go. So I want to jump into this. I'm not sure if you guys know, but HighLevel did release some new features over the past couple of weeks. Well, actually over the last few days, really. And I've been testing this behind the scenes for quite a few months. I really love it. I'm going to share that with you.
but also I'm going to show you my workflow on how I build these agents. I've been building these agents now for a few years. Before, you could even book to a calendar. You couldn't even book to a calendar before. We'd have to send you a calendar link, and then you'd have to book, after the fact. So we're going to show you each and every feature, take our time. We're not in a rush here. We're going to go slow and steady, and make sure that, everybody has all their questions answered from basics to advanced. Okay. That's the goal of what we're going to do today. So with that said, I think we're going to go ahead and jump in it. Where's everybody from? Let's put that in the chat so I can see exactly where everyone's from, and say good morning to everyone. I'm not even sure. I can't really even tell you how many people are on the call because we're streaming to around 8 platforms right now live. So they're all in all different places. Some of you are joining from Instagram. Some of you are in my private community. Some of you are in our Facebook group. Some of you are on YouTube. So it's going across all of those at once. We use software to do that. We configured that, and we're broadcasting, like I mentioned, to all of the different. Oh, India, nice. Oh gosh, good morning, gosh, how are you? Yeah, Connecticut, awesome. So everyone is everywhere. That's good. I like it. Chicago, cool. Oh, Nick, how's it going, Nick? Good morning. Ryan, good morning. I guess that would be New Jersey for you, right, Robin? Right, Ryan? Yes. So cool. Some people are on YouTube. Good. So we have all the platforms going. I appreciate it. Seems to be working. Hopefully you guys enjoy this. Like I mentioned, we're going to be doing these type of builds coming up. We have so much to share with everyone. So you're going to be seeing these pop up. We don't have a schedule. And I think we're going to keep it that way. We're not going to really have a schedule. We're just going to pop them up, give you about 24 hours notice like we did for this one. And then hopefully you guys can join and enjoy it. So, oh, England. Awesome. Cool. So we have people all over the world, which is cool. I appreciate you guys all joining. Let's jump into this because that's what you guys are really here for. So first things first, let me share my screen. And so I'm going to pop down here. I have this set up in a training sub account. And basically, if you navigate to the AI agents on your left-hand sidebar, and so everyone can follow along, I'm sure we have some basic users here, which is no problem. And we maybe have some advanced users here, which is no problem. So left-hand sidebar, AI agents, and then you can click Voice AI on the top navigation up at the top. And then I'm going to go ahead and click Create Agent. So you're going to click Create Agent, and you're going to see you're going to have a few choices here. I want to show you a couple of these. I want to show you the marketplace because this may be your starting point. Many of you may be looking for a specific niche, and the beautiful thing about the marketplace is you're not starting from scratch. So I'm going to hit that first so you can see it. And if you go in here, you can go ahead and select the different features, perhaps. You can select the different use cases, or you can even have the different niches. So say I wanted a dental agent. I can just click on dental agent, and I can select this one here. It happens to be free. That would give you a head start. So you would be able to load this into your account and potentially use that as a template, perhaps. Many of these have what we call custom actions already built in. So it does a lot of that for you. But for the purpose of today, I want to show you how to build them from scratch, because once I show you how to build them from scratch, I'm going to show you how easy it is. Okay. The next thing is you can do these by free. As I mentioned, now I'm on dental, but these are the free dental ones. You can also have some paid ones as well. We have around our team, we have around 250 agents that are in this marketplace, and we're continuing to add to them because we feel that it's a pretty huge benefit and a head start. So that's available. I just want to let you know that that's an option for you. Okay. So let's go ahead today, though. We're going to create a custom agent. So we're going to start from scratch. And that's how I pretty much start every one of these builds, is pretty much doing a custom agent. I really don't recycle hardly at all. And this will give you a blank slate. So this is what we're going to start in today. And then if you haven't joined a HighLevel voice builds before, or haven't really dabbled in it, it's really not as bad as what you would think. The thing is, what they did is they used to have a 4-page user interface, and they've really condensed it into 2. This is page 1, which is the build page, and this is the page 2 toggle, which is the deploy page. So we're primarily going to be operating in this build area today. And I'm going to navigate around that so you guys can see exactly what we need to do. So the first thing, this is going to be a default prompt that comes with HighLevel. You can see it here. It has a default. The first thing I do, honestly, is I get rid of it. So I just highlight it and then I just hit delete. So I'm starting with a total blank slate every single time. So that's how I do it. And then we're going to name the agent, because if you start doing this, they're all going to be starting like my agent and a number, my agent and a number. So we're going to just do live build today. All right. So now we named our agent. So when we go back to our agent list where we were previously, you'll see live build. You could say the date, you could do it however you like. All right. So that's where you're going to actually name your agent. The next thing is we're going to select our voice. But before we do that, I want you to look at the model. This is available in labs, and this is one of the main reasons that I wanted to do this demo today, or this build today, is because I want to show you the new technology that was just released over the past few days with HighLevel. And this is called speech to speech. Okay. And it's going to be down here. You're going to have to activate this in labs. So you're going to go to your agency account, and then you're going to go to labs, and you're going to enable speech to speech in labs, and that'll be activated for your sub account. Okay. And it's going to give you these three choices: GPT real time, and it says beta, GPT real time 2 beta, and then Gemini Flash live preview beta. For today, we're going to go with this Gemini 3.1 Flash live preview beta, and I think you're going to be pretty impressed. Now, what is this that we're even talking about? Why are we even discussing this? Why would I just pick like a Claude model or an OpenAI model? Well, the reason is traditional voice AI, how that operates is it takes your voice, it transcribes that into text, and then what happens is the AI analyzes it and then transcribes it back into voice. So it takes like basically 3 steps to keep it simple. So during those 3 steps, the biggest failure point is the transcription. That's where a lot of times you see the AI get a little messy. So with this, what we're doing today is this technology, which is very new, it's in HighLevel, but it's making its way to some other platforms. This is taking speech and directing it right to speech. So the AI knows your speech. Now, what does that mean for us? Well, the advantage of this is it knows your emotion. So it knows if you're excited, the AI knows you're excited. If it knows that you're mad or upset as a customer, the AI knows you're upset. It also basically eliminates all the latency. There's no pause in between. So it's going to be really crisp and sharp. There's no pause at all, which is a huge, huge advantage. The other thing, which we'll demonstrate later, this particular model, this Gemini model, does around 75 languages right out of the box. There's no setting. So it'll do 75 languages and switch in between those languages completely on the fly, which is amazing. And then lastly, it really does well if the caller is interrupting the AI agent. So if you're going to be interrupting, if the caller is going to be interrupting, it handles it very, very well. So that is the huge advantage. I love this technology. I've been playing with this for the last 2 months, giving them feedback at HighLevel, the development team, and it's come a long way. It's an amazing feature, in my opinion. You'll never probably select another model or go backwards, but I would suggest that you play with it, and because it's just like anything. It's like music. It's like voice agents. It's the same thing. You know, what I happen to enjoy or like in a voice, maybe you don't, because there's really no right or wrong answer. It's very subjective. So keep that in mind. So here's the one that we're going to be using today is this Gemini 3.1. But also next to that is you have your voice selector. So I'm just going to leave this as default, but this one has around 75 languages and around 20 or so voices. You see them here. So you can select whatever one that you really like and test each and every one of them. Although the voices are different, the model behind the scenes making it work is the same. You can filter these by gender, male or female, and you can hit them by most liked. There's not really many most liked yet because it's such a new feature. So you pick out what you like. I'm using this generic one. I've been using it for a while, and I happen to think it's pretty decent. I demoed it in Manila this past week. and a few other demos with the same voice. So you could pick it. There's around 30 voices here. If you go to the OpenAI models, you're going to see there is 10 voices on this particular model. But that's a choice up to you. There's really no right or wrong answer. I'm just happen to be happy with this. I like the number of languages, and you're going to see that live, how amazing it is in a few minutes. So that's all you really have to do with this. So when you're picking this STS, make sure it's activated in labs, make sure it's enabled for your sub account. It takes about 5 minutes to do so, and then you're ready to go. It almost eliminates a lot of these call settings on the right-hand side where we were adjusting pacing and all of that. It does it all automatic. So you just select it and these will vanish, and there's really no other settings to select. So don't be looking for additional settings in this right-hand action bar. You won't find them particular to the voice. You're still going to have some of these, which we're going to go through each and every one of these in depth in a few minutes. So we won't worry about that right now, but we will for sure go through each and every one of these, because this is really where the power is, these actions. So let's go over the palette first before we do anything. This is where your main prompt area is going to be. HighLevel has increased that. It used to be 2,000 words, and now it's 4,000. So you could pretty much put a lot of information in that prompt area. For people that are new, put a number 1 in the chat so I can see new people. And if you're, have been building voice AI agents, please put a number 2 in the comments so I can see that as well. So I can determine where everyone is here, so I can make sure that we tailor this specifically to you. So the prompt area is the main area of what goes in. Okay, good. 1s, 2s. Okay, so a little bit mix, which is fine. Everyone, listen, at the end of the day, I think everyone will pick up a tip or two or potentially get you to build your first agent today. And I think we will accomplish both of those. So if you're an advanced user, we're going to try to show you some advanced things. For a novice user or somebody getting started, don't be worried about that. You're going to be building one of these voice agents by yourself in the next 15 minutes. It's not going to be that difficult. I'm going to show you how really easy it is. So this is our prompt area. This is our main prompt area. So one of the things that I always get asked is well, what do I put in this prompt area? So I want to just give you some examples. If you're building for a med spa, as an example, you don't have to load this prompt area talking about what a med spa is or what it does, or even potentially what it offers. So most med spas, for example, offer Botox. I'm just making that up as an example. You don't need to worry about telling the AI what Botox is. It already knows what Botox is, I assure you. So what does it really need to have in there? It needs to have features or offers that are specific to that specific med spa. Because as you can imagine, you could have a med spa a block away from each other, and the voice agents would be totally different. They wouldn't be a carbon copy. So every one of these voice agents are what I call semi-custom. They're never going to be alike. Each one of them is going to take a life of their own. Maybe that med spa takes appointments on the weekend. Maybe one doesn't. Maybe one does offer Botox, but the other one doesn't. Maybe one wants to give pricing on the call, another one doesn't. Maybe they want to give you a coupon code, one doesn't. So these are all varying factors that make each one of these semi-custom. Now, with that said, as I mentioned, what needs to go in here? It's all business specific that needs to go into this prompt area. Don't overload the prompt and make it so abundant that you're taking up all these words and you really don't need to. Keep it very slim. I'll show you my format, and you can copy this format and use it for almost everyone, and then you'll modify it from there. That's what we're going to show you today. But the key here is you don't need to tell it a bunch of stuff that the AI already knows. If you're talking about pest control, it already knows about pesticides. It already knows that you're going to be if they sprayed your yard, you can't walk on it for 24 hours after, or play on it, or kids can't play on it. The AI already knows all that, but it doesn't know specifically what chemicals you're using, or it doesn't know that you're open or you do emergencies perhaps. Okay. So those are things that would go in this prompt area, very, very detailed. So with that said, the main prompt area is where all the stuff goes. Now, if you've seen me build these in the past, I'm not a big fan of knowledge base. I try to eliminate using a knowledge base almost at all costs, because when I was doing a lot of R&D and work with HighLevel and I was going into users' accounts, that is the number one problem that we had with AI in HighLevel. It wasn't really a user. I mean, it wasn't a system problem. It wasn't a problem with HighLevel. The problem was people were putting conflicting information in the knowledge base into this prompt area. So two variations. They'd have one way of doing it in the prompt area, and then in the knowledge base, it would be conflicting. So the AI really didn't know what to do, and essentially would give out bad information. I'll go into that more when we cover knowledge bases here in a few moments. But I want you to be aware that most of my voice agents I built, maybe, I don't even know, I've lost track, maybe around 2,500 in HighLevel and other platforms as well, Vappy, retail, pretty much all of them. Most of what I do, I try not to use a knowledge base. I think I've used a knowledge base maybe 20 times out of 2,500 to give you an idea. I try to stack as much as I can into the main prompt area. And there's a few reasons for that. Number one reason, honestly, is that it eliminates latency. So every time you go for a knowledge base, the AI has to search for that. And there's going to be a little blip or a little glitch when it's looking for that data. All right. So with that said, the main prompt area is your main focus, as well as the bottom area, the welcome message. One other feature about this main prompt area, we have custom values that are available. So just like all of other HighLevel, we can add in like contact, first name, company, all of these fields. I'm going to show you that in a few minutes. So I could add all of these custom fields. So they're almost like placeholders, and that's where you can introduce data if you like. So we always would start with the initial message, which goes on the bottom. I kind of wish HighLevel would have put that up the top. I understand why they did it, because I'm OCD and I like to do things in a specific order. So I feel like I'm jumping around and it's at the bottom. I think they put it at the bottom because once you do it, it's out of sight, out of mind, and you're going to be working in this main prompt area anyway. So the agent initial message is very, very important. Okay, it's very important. And the reason is, if you look, this is their default agent initial message here. You have 190 characters. I very rarely would utilize all that. I want to do one mission in life, is to direct the caller here. That's what I want to do. I want to give the caller a direction. And before I started doing this, I used to have calls that rambled on for 8 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, even longer, perhaps. So if you just say, hello, how can I help you? The caller will just ramble on and not really have a defined path. Okay. So what I like to do here is I like to give them 3 clear paths. So this is the default one, and this is doing exactly what I said don't do. It says, hey, you've reached Michael Reamer. How can I help you today? Well, it's really up to the caller at that point, because the caller is going to say, oh, I'm just calling to say hello, or I'm going to call because I want to know I have a problem, or I'm going to call, just to see how you guys are doing today. We don't want that. So we will get rid of this as well. And I'm going to show you that more in depth. What we try to do is give the caller 3 clear paths. And this works, it doesn't matter what niche you have. You can use this. You could use this for any niche. It doesn't matter. Let's use it for an auto dealership. Hi, welcome to Delray Mazda. Are you calling for service, sales, or something else? Those are 3 choices. Hey, you called, Sunny Smiles Dental. Are you calling for a dentist appointment, a cleaning, or something else? Are you calling this med spa for, a treatment, a consult, or something else? You get the idea. So basically, we want to give them 3 paths all the time. And what this does is that this eliminates your call time. So I took calls that were, on average, 5 minutes or more. I bring them down with an appointment down to 1 minute and 40 seconds on average. That is huge, because if we can condense that, number one, it's costing you money. So the shorter the call, the less it costs, obviously, but also less room for error. So when the agent doesn't have to keep going back and forth and answering and going around in circles, we just have a lot better success rate, and it's very focused and does the job very well. So I would suggest doing that technique because it's very important. Give them 3 clear paths. And then guess what? When we build this prompt area here, we're going to direct those 3 paths. So that's going to happen on autopilot. I'll show you that. Okay. Another quick navigation, as I mentioned, these actions on the right-hand side, that is where all the power is, okay? That is massive for you as a user and for you to deploy these agents. This differentiates you from scrolling your Facebook and you see AI agents for $29 in the App Store on Facebook or on Apple App Store, because they have apps there that are $29 for voice agents, but this is totally different. You can't compare that. This here is where all the magic happens. This is really, if you're going to focus on anything, I'm going to show you how to do all this really easily, but to make these agents yours, you need to spend a lot of time in this actions area. This is where the magic happens. This is where they're extremely powerful. And this is where you can make a difference in your own business and somebody else's business. Okay, so we will go through each and every one of these actions today. The next thing, which has been a massive improvement, when I started working with HighLevel on this test area, was not the greatest. It is really amazing now. So you don't even need a phone number now to test and evaluate these agents. And I'm going to go through my testing procedure. You can emulate that. You can modify it. Anything I have here is for you guys to use. So this is where you're going to test them. You could test it with a web call, meaning you're going to use your internet, or you can test it with a phone call. So if we're going to use a web call, it's just basically like clicking a button and it simulates an outbound call and you talk to the agent and you do your testing. If you're going to be using a phone call, you're going to enter in your phone number and the agent's going to call you and then you're going to test it that way. Okay, but you don't need anything as far as a phone number or anything like that. So you can just test by web and not have a phone number. So if you're having a problem with compliance or anything like that, you could still test these agents, not a problem. A couple of key things, and I'm not sure everyone knows, but you can snapshot these agents. So if you build one, you can actually snapshot it and move it to another account. You could actually sell it on the marketplace if you'd like. Maybe you make for a client and then you make it more generic and then you can put it up for a sale into the HighLevel marketplace that I showed you earlier. And every month they will send you residual or money for selling that agent. But you can snapshot these. So that's important. So if you're building a snapshot for your business, maybe you are in the pest control niche, or maybe you're in the med spa niche. So like all of our snapshots that we have around 300 in our marketplace. We have a private marketplace for people that are affiliated with us. Every single one of those snapshots has a conversational AI agent and a voice agent attached to those. Okay. So you could do the same. So if you're going to snapshot it for your own business and you're going to be in the med spa, you can put this as part of the snapshot. When you deploy it to the next client, it may get you 90% there or 80% there. Okay. We'll talk about that. I thank you so much, Melodies, for bringing up the prompt optimizer. We'll talk about that as well. And I'll show you my procedure as we move forward. So yeah, I really appreciate the comments. It really makes it a lot more interactive for me. I know I'm doing all the talking. Like I said, we're streaming on like 8 different platforms. So I appreciate you guys tuning in, and the comments are really good for me. So it keeps me on task, but also it makes me realize what you guys need help with. So that is awesome. Or just have curiosity questions. It's fine. So thank you for adding them. I'm monitoring the chat, and good morning, Kunal. All right. So let's jump into this right now, because this is really where we're going to be. So I'm going to give you guys access to this tool. So I have a prompt generator. So what I'd really like somebody to do is just give me a niche in the chat, and we're going to build this from total scratch. I'm not going to have anything predetermined. I don't know what we're going to do. So somebody put a niche in there. Let's see. Hey, Nicole, how are you? Yeah, just put a niche in the chat, somebody in the comments, and we're going to build for that niche. The first one that pops up is what we're going to build to. Okay, we're going to do Melodies. We got roofing. Perfect. I'm sorry, I got to get my coffee on board. I got up super early for you guys, but it's okay. I'm always up early. So let's look. I'm going to give you guys access. We're going to do roofing today, so that's awesome. We'll handle roofing. It was the first one popped up, and we'll do that. So I'm going to share this tab. This is my prompt generator. So originally, let me give you guys a little history. So I had a prompt generator that I built a long time ago that essentially I was using N8N, and I would pull certain data and then I would build these prompts. Okay. And it all started really from a Word doc. I gave HighLevel my prompt that I use as a baseline. I did so much testing. I'm a little OCD, so I built a template. Like every prompt should have these features. So I gave that to HighLevel when they were using SynthFlow back in the day. I don't know if you guys know that, but HighLevel utilized SynthFlow, and then since then they went to Retail. I'm a platinum partner with Retail. I still use Retail. I use Retail for one purpose. It's just bulk outbound calling, which is really not the best, but um, bulk outbound calling should be used in certain situations. It's very difficult. You're not going to just dial thousands of people and make money. You're going to spend more on AI than you're going to get appointments, because no one answers calls that they don't know the number, and it's a very difficult proposition. But I do have clients that want it, so we do sometimes 500,000 calls in a month. So I use Retail for that because HighLevel's using Retail right now on the back end, and I like them seamless. So I want the inbound call and the outbound calls to sound very similar. So that's the only reason. So I built this prompt for them. I gave that to HighLevel as a document, and they modeled their prompt out of it. I like mine just a little bit better because everyone has a way of doing things. So I took that N8N workflow and I built this generator, and basically you'd go to a hidden site that I'd have, and I'd fill in some data, like 2 fields, and in 30 seconds I would have the prompt in my inbox. So then I said, we're getting off our server because really we've really transitioned all of our N8N workflows over to either private applications, or we're doing them a bunch of different ways. So I built this app that basically builds these prompts for you, and I'm going to show you that now. And I'm also going to give you access to this as well at the end of this session. You guys will have access to this, all right? Because this is really going to make your life easier. And I'm going to show you how really easy it is. And I'm going to show you how powerful it is as well, because I enhanced it when we took it off of N8N and we built our own app. We basically, enhanced it along the way as well. So this will build this prompt for you in a short amount of time, which you're going to see live right now. So let's go ahead and jump into this. It's very simple to use. So right here where it says business name and state, I'm just going to put roofing in here right now, just because I don't really know. I don't really know which one we're going to pick, so it doesn't really matter. So I just put roofing, okay? And if you could see, this has every roofing company in the world. I'm pulling this from Google Maps, and it's I have it using the Google API, the Maps API, and it pulls from every single business listing in the world. So it doesn't matter if you're in India. It doesn't matter if you're in the Philippines. It doesn't matter where you're located. It's going to pick up every single business. So if your client is here, this is a shortcut, all right? So I'm just going to pick this first one just as a demo, because we're not picking anything specific. So I just want to build it for this. So this is where it pulled the business name, it pulled the phone number, it pulled their website, and it pulled their address. Okay. And that's all we have to do. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to hit continue. So what this did already is it already enhanced this data. So it took all of that data behind the scenes. I have other software running that enhances the data and gets everything we need. So this one, look, it says right here, hours not specified, weekend appointments upon request. That's fine. Here's the email. Here's the address. This tells you a description of what it does, the services offered, 30 years in business, and their tone. Okay. So we have that already done. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to hit continue. And what's going to ask you now is this, I built this specifically not just for voice, although it does a very good job. This will help you with all the AI prompting basically that you need in HighLevel. So this will do reputation management prompts. So essentially, like if you're going to do Google reviews for this roofing, set up Google reviews or reputation management for this roofing company, it's going to give you the 3 prompts that you need for that. I do that in 3. I don't have an AI agent answering reviews for 5-star reviews the same as a 1-star review. That would be silly. I want a response for a 5-star review to be drastically different than somebody that leaves me a 1-star review. I'm sure you guys can understand that. 1-star review, I'm going to be like, hey, we messed up big time. We need to make it right for you. 5-star review, I'm over the top excited. So we're going to select that. These are all selectable. Then we are going to be doing the agent initial message. That's the one I spoke with you about earlier, where we have those 3 choices. We're going to need that for what we're doing today. Then I have voice AI inbound, because that's what we're actually working on today, is an inbound call. But I also have it set to do outbound. So it could be outbound in HighLevel, it can be outbound in retail, it could be outbound in VAPI, it doesn't matter. And then I have my conversational AI, which I'm going to be making a change to this today, because I don't know if you guys saw, but HighLevel basically changed their formatting of their conversational AI prompt, but I'll show it to you anyway. I'll have this changed later today and updated. So I selected all of them just for the purpose of the demonstration, and then you're going to hit generate prompts. So here's the 3 prompts. So this one is for a 5-star. This is what you're going to put in HighLevel exactly. So you just copy and paste easy. This is going to be for 3 to 4-star, copy, paste. And this is going to be for 1 to 2-star, copy and paste. Those are your 3 choices. Okay, but let's work on the voice for now. So here's the initial messages. So it's going to give you a bunch of choices. You can choose any one of these, or you can combine them. There's no written rule here. But the reason I gave you 5 rather than 1, it just stimulates some thought. Okay, so maybe you don't like it, but at least gets you started. But for the purposes of today, I'm going to go ahead and just copy this one. Okay. So again, same thing. It's always an open-ended question. We have to end in a question mark. That has to happen. Otherwise, you have a stalemate on the call. No one knows who is speaking next. The other thing is we want 3 choices. So are you calling for roofing, roof replacement, or something else? Maybe service, perhaps. Are you, so essentially it'll ask you that. So I copied this one just for the heck of it. And then here's your entire inbound prompt. Okay. So as you can see, it built everything. So it tells you all the guardrails. It tells you how to format a lot of the questions. It also has your objectives, what we're trying to do, answer incoming calls, answer questions, book an appointment, etc. And then speaking style. And then it puts in the company's information, what they sell. Here it doesn't have the owner's name, so anything that has a parentheses, we just don't make that up. It will leave it blank. If you could add it if you like. Some people don't want it. I don't particularly like a forward-facing email, because then people are just going to utilize your voice agent to get your data and then spam you. So you generally utilize that. And then also it talks about what they offer, and then all the FAQs associated with it, discovery questions, pretty much everything is here. So I'm going to show you how to utilize this. And then let me just jump. Well, here's the outbound call scripts. Similar, very similar, but it's a little bit different because the AI actually, somebody's going to say hello, and then the AI has to pick up the conversation. And then lastly, the conversational AI. If you remember, like a few weeks ago, this is how they were. They were broken down into a few key sections. I'm gonna redo the format of this today, and it'll be updated when you guys log in. So I'm going to leave this on inbound because that's what we're going to be utilizing. I'm going to jump back over to HighLevel. And oops, wrong screen. So we're going to jump back into HighLevel. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to paste in my initial message. So how I do this is every time I do something, I save. So I'm just going to, so it's saying the prompt is there. So you could just put a space. It doesn't matter. So let me see here. Okay, so you just put a couple of characters and it allows you to save it. I just do that as a precaution with HighLevel because I just don't want to lose my work. So I always would put something like that. Now I'm going to jump back here to the prompt generator, and I'm going to grab my prompt that the generator built. And then I'm going to go right back to this. I'm going to delete these little squigglies that I put, and then I'm just going to paste it. So the next thing that I would do for every single build, and this is just my workflow that works for me. You guys can utilize this if you like, but I do this every single time, is I will go to a blank Google Doc and I will paste my prompt in as well. So I have my prompt here. I do this for a few reasons. Number 1, back when we were working in HighLevel, there wasn't this feature, which is right. They'll have an undo feature. So now they have this undo feature. Okay. So they have an undo. So if I'm making changes, I can undo it and go back. I always like to have a backup of that. So I use a Word doc and I make my changes in my Word doc and then I copy and I replace the entire prompt. I don't want to go in here and make some changes and I have two versions and I have a version control issue. So I always use a Google Doc to keep my prompt the latest and greatest. And because, obviously you guys probably know Google Docs very well. The bottom line is that you can always revert on a Google Doc. If I have extensive changes, I will even open a second Google Doc. So I have a fresh where I'm making something that's, something's not working properly. I start having problems and I make an extensive change. I'll save that as version 1. And then I'll go into a Google Doc and open another one for version 2. And I would also encourage every one of you to keep the latest prompt that you utilize for that client in a Google Drive folder for that client as well. The reason is, as we know, and you guys will laugh in the chat, I'm sure you guys are going to give me a thumbs up if this is true, is these clients like to mess with this in their own account, and they're going to call you and say, oh, my agent doesn't work. And then you're going to look at your Google Doc, and you're going to be like, wait a minute, this is totally drastically different than really what's in your account. I didn't leave it like this. And depending on how good of a mood you're in, you can repaste your prompt in and be okay with it. Or perhaps, you're going to have to, let them know that please don't tamper with it. And, there may be a charge involved, but that's up to you. So we're now into this area and we have everything pretty much ready to go. The only thing I would scan for at this point is make sure that you have your data in this company area. Make sure it has everything you want. So maybe the data that we pulled from their Google business profile and their website, it didn't have the hours. But this one doesn't. It says it doesn't specify the hours, but they do weekend appointments upon request. Just make sure that that's up to date. You may have to, no, you can't block their access, unfortunately, and that's a feature that they're working on. So you may speak to the client and they may have published hours. Maybe their website's not up to date, or perhaps their Google business profile is not up to date. So those are things that I would double check, on. Okay. The owner's name and their main contact and their email, you notice that they're not listed here. You could either list them or delete them. It doesn't matter. If you'd like to delete them, you're good to go. And then just scan this and make sure that everything is accurate. But this did a lot of the heavy lifting for you. And then just hit save. So we're ready to go. Realistically, I can call this right now. I can actually call this and make it work right now out of the box, but we're going to keep moving forward. Hang on one second. Well, listen, somebody had, Nicole put something in there. Somebody on YouTube is saying, there's people that are out there that like to, mess with these voice agents. I've listened to literally thousands of recordings. If you send out a voice agent to a client as a demo, one of the things that they like to do unattended is to try to trip it up. But listen, at the end of the day, you have to treat this like a real customer. It's almost like somebody calling your receptionist and prank calling them. It's the same thing. So it doesn't matter at the end of the day. You can lock them down where you don't want them to give out any, any prompting information or things like that, just like I do with chat. If you're building custom GPTs or things like that, you could do that. Really, we're not talking top security here. There's really nothing here that's top security. There's really not much to mess up. What are they going to do? They're going to get your system prompt. At the end of the day, there's nothing really totally, security sensitive or proprietary here. So I wouldn't worry about it. You'll spend more time trying to worry about that than it's even worth. You're going to have a few of those bad apples that are like to, to call them. One of the biggest offenders of that, honestly, is I think everyone knows here that you can utilize these agents and put them on website. Okay, you can add a chat widget and talk to your website. To keep in mind, the person that's paying for that is the owner of that business. So if people get on that website and click on that and talk for 24 hours, you could potentially ring up a bill. At the end of the day, it's very rare. I've seen it happen where people like try to talk to it and just talk to it all day long, but it's very rare, very, very rare. The cost savings of not having a live person answer these calls far outweighs any of that. So don't sweat it. Just get the calls answered. We don't want to miss. That's the big thing, and get them to do what they're supposed to be doing. A couple of other tips here. When you're building these, what's the purpose of these agents? Well, I'm giving you one use case here, which is answering your phone, your main line. I've built these to do various other tasks as well. Let me give you an example of a few of those, because maybe this will stimulate you in your own business. So we've built voice agents for internal tech team. For example, maybe you have an electrician. We've loaded the whole national electrical code and local electrical code, and it's only available on a private number for their technicians to call, because they're in a building and they have a question like how high in this occupancy should an outlet be off the floor. And rather than looking that up in a book, or even worse, taking a guess and getting it wrong, and now that they fail their inspection, or maybe potentially using the wrong wire size for an appliance or a piece of machinery and causing damage to that property, they can call this agent and get instant information. So keep that in mind. I don't know if you saw my pet emergency one, but I taught it to do emergency first aid on any type of pet out there. So those are just some other use cases as well. Maybe these agents aren't forward facing, maybe they're only internal, or maybe you have both. So that is an option as well. Some of them can even be more customer service, where I'm going to get live data on the call, and I'm going to get real-time shipping information for web-based orders. We've done that for Shopify as an example, where I can give you my order number. It'll tell you when it's going to be delivered, where it's located, all of that. So those are some things that you can do, order history, etc. The other thing is, I built one for a gentleman in Australia. They were selling for a massive water purification system company, where we're pulling in live data from government data streams. In other words, we want to know how many parts per million of benzene are in that guy's tap water at their home. So they entered in their zip code and basically gave them chemicals from government data, the latest, that was at their tap, because we know where their water treatment facility is and what's coming out of that treatment facility. And then they upsold them into selling, a water purification system that they would put in their home, as an example. So there's a lot of power in these agents, not just answering the phone. But if we're going to answer the phone, and that's 95% of it, I want to actually simulate being a real salesperson. So I want to be a salesperson. What would a salesperson do? I mean, the golden opportunity is here. Somebody called your business and your salesperson answered the phone, but that salesperson is this AI agent. The AI agent should be able to answer FAQs, no doubt, which it will. It should be able to book an appointment for you 24/7, 365. HighLevel can book to 30 different calendars at once, which is amazing. Not many systems can do that. In addition to that and don't forget this. This is very, very important. You have this person on the phone, and I'm going to give you an example. Hang on one second. So if I call, and I'm a pest control company, and I call on the weekend because, my wife said we have ants in our house, or we saw bugs or whatever, and I call and I need an emergency service. And I said, listen, I need somebody to come out here immediately. I have bugs in my house. I need, I can't live with this. Everyone's, freaking out in the house. I need somebody to come out in emergency. Do you guys do emergency? Absolutely. We can notify the owner of the company, of the pest control company, or even the on-duty technician. We can give them a price for the emergency service, but we can also tell them, listen, most pest control companies, they're not making their money on just going out and spraying for ants one time. We want to upsell them. Somebody mentioned it. Melades mentioned it in the chat. We want to upsell them into an annual service contract. So we could have the agent say, listen, we're going to come out. Normal cost for this service is $200. We're going to come out within the hour and take care of your ants. However, if you sign up for my yearly contract to keep ants out of your house, 12 months out of the year, we're going to waive that or give you a discount if you sign up for that contract today. Would that be something you're interested in? And you can actually do that. And we can send them a payment link, and they can pay for that service. And you go out and handle them. And now you have a long-term customer, because think about it. If you're pest control, that's what you want. If you're a lawn company, you don't want to go out and mow a lawn one time. You want to mow it throughout the year. If you're a cleaning service, you don't want to clean your house one time. You want to clean it every single month or every single week, for the entire year. So treat this like a real sales agent, because that's really what it is. Okay. A lot of power here. They're very, very smart. They're very consistent. So it's going to answer at 3 in the morning, the same as it answers at 9 a.m. And I would almost put these head to head with any call service out there. Somebody mentioned, call center. Yeah, you can almost deploy this as a call center. We've done this as call center replacements, where it can actually handle for, work for call centers as well. So that's not an issue. The object here is to answer these calls and do it effectively. I recently, in my first business, we had a call center, and we were paying back then, we were paying almost $2,000 a month for somebody answering a call, answering our phones after hours. In my opinion, this is much better. The reason it's much better is a call service. Typically, they're going to read a script and they're going to get certain information, and their main job is to write it on a notepad or in the computer, send those questions and answers to the owner, and the owner has to call you back. This is more end to end. This is designed to answer all the questions live and book to the call live, and also 1/10 of the cost. Because what used to be like $1,500 when I called recently, within maybe 3 months ago, to see what these call services are charging. Some of them are charging $5,000 a month, and you could do the same thing for far less. So that's kind of the key here. So we want to handle everything on the call, A to Z. All right. Yeah, we're going to make the prompt generator available. We'll do that at the end. Okay. So here's our prompt. I'm not going to mess with this. All right. The next thing that I want to jump into is really going to be in this actions area. Okay. We definitely want to spend time here, and this is huge for us. So let's jump into the top area. So I want you to understand all of these actions and these settings, okay? The first one we're going to do is we're going to click on new action, and these are what's going to happen on the call or after the call. So for example, we can do a call transfer. So we're going to name that. So we're going to say, we're going to transfer to a human as an example. Well, when would we have to transfer to a human? There's going to be certain situations where it always has to get transferred to a human. For example, these AI agents are not really good about looking up, like if you're a doctor's office, they can't look up your insurance and your billing and why did we bill you X when the insurance should have covered something. So we can't do that. It needs to go to a billing supervisor or somebody in the billing department. So maybe I would name this billing supervisor or billing department. This doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter. This is just for internal use. So action name is just, transfer to human billing. That would be an example. And then this is going to be the phone number that it goes to. Even if you're in an IVR system, meaning like you have to hit 1 for, the receptionist, 2, normally they have their own direct dial numbers, and we would add that direct dial number to this field here. You can also do menu keys if you like. So when does this take place? When does this call take place? So you can tell it like, hey, if somebody has a question with billing, any type of billing question or invoicing or payment, that's when this is going to take place. One thing I want you to pay attention to in HighLevel, because it's important, is I always look and see like how many characters did they give us here. They gave us 500. That means I can be pretty descriptive. I can use OpenAI potentially and say, here, frame this because I want this to get transferred to a human on this condition. Tell OpenAI or ChatGPT you're going to be using this for an LLM, and they wanted to recognize that and just paste it in here. But it gives you 500 characters. So when it gives you 500 characters, that means you could be very descriptive, and the more descriptive you are, the more accurate it'll be. And it will recognize on the call that, oh, I have to transfer it to a human because I don't know this. Okay, so that's what you want to add here. So this is really where it recognizes the verbiage on the call, and that's when it's going to transfer. This field here is what to say when you're doing the transfer. If you don't want it to say anything, you could just put a space. If you want it to say something like, well, hang on, I'm going to you know what, that's a great question. I'm going to transfer you to my billing supervisor. You could be as nice as you'd like. And that's where you would add it to here. Okay. Before the call is transferred, it's going to say that word for word. Make it super conversational. Don't make it sound like, robotic. Make it sound ultra natural. Again, you can use ChatGPT alongside of this to make that happen, or make it sound like you, or make it sound like a real receptionist, however you like. But that's what it would do right there. So, all right. So that is a call transfer. The next one that's powerful is this one. This is going to trigger a workflow. So let me give you an example of that. I'm trying to give you examples so you can go ahead and utilize these examples for your own use cases, because it would be virtually impossible for me to go over each and every one of them. It's just not practical. There's so many use cases I haven't even thought of that perhaps people on this call have already thought of. But for example, maybe you're a painting company. And for example, the caller says, "Hey, listen, I really want you to paint the exterior of my house," and the agent's saying, and they're asking about colors. And you say, "Listen, when a caller asks about colors, we want to send a PDF color chart to that person while on the call." So you could say, send color chart would be the action name. I have a workflow that has a PDF attached to it, and it would deliver either SMS link to that PDF or actually an email to them. And then when to trigger it, you say, anytime the caller is asking or inquiring about colors for this painting job, I want to send them the color chart and trigger this workflow. And it could say, that's a really good question. I'll give you our standard color chart. I'll send it to you via SMS and email if you like. And it would just trigger that on the call automatically. You don't have to do anything. The AI would determine that, hey, we need to send this workflow out because they're asking about colors, and it triggers it. But that's just one use case. You can think of many, many more. Okay. The next one is the same thing, send a SMS. Well, maybe you're going to send a payment link. So they're talking about payment. I can do the same thing. I can send them a payment link via SMS so they can pay for that emergency visit, perhaps, or a deposit, whatever you would like. So, the sky's the limit on SMS. I can do, I can send them directions to our address. I can do all of that. I was doing a voice AI agent for a big company, and it was so crazy. It was like, so the AI agent, well, their old system, when they would dial and hit 1 for the receptionist, it'd say, hey, hit 1 for their address, and hit, if you want to know about directions, it was telling them, okay, hang up here, go to our website, and we'll give you directions to it has our directions to our site. We don't do that. I'm trying to answer all of this on the call. So even if I have to give them, their address and the directions, we can do that via SMS as an example. There's many ways, but this is just one. So you get the idea. If you want to send an SMS out, you can do that on the call easily. Now, keep in mind, I get this question a lot. I just want to make sure it's very clear. To send an SMS, that is where you need A2P. To have a voice agent, you don't need A2P at all. The only time that would be required, regulatory, is that if you're going to send SMS. So if your agent never sends an SMS out, you don't need A2P at all. You can just buy a phone number, whether it be an 800 number or local number for your jurisdiction, and you can run voice agents all day long without A2P. Okay, so that is something that's, that I get asked a lot, and it's sometimes misleading, especially for newer users. The next one, this is very, very, very important, and I'm going to show you how I format these. This is where you're grabbing data on the call or after the call, and this is super critical. And the reason it is super critical is because this is where the power is in these agents. So for example, if I'm booking a med spa appointment, I want to know what the caller is interested in. If I'm booking a repair, for an air conditioner, maybe I want to know their make and model of that air conditioner that they're having an issue with. I want to grab all that data. I want to grab their name, their email, their phone number, all that. We can grab that during the appointment phase, but I can also get additional information. Maybe I'm an automotive shop. I want to know the year of their car. I want to know the make of their car. I want to know, when their last service was. The sky's the limit. So that is where you're going to do this. It's going to be update contact field. Okay. So you would have a contact field in HighLevel. You could add as many as you like, and you would be populating those fields. And this is done naturally on the phone. So if somebody says, hey, listen, it's an auto dealership and I have a trade-in, what kind of trade-in do you have? And they say the brand of the car, it would update brand of car contact field. If it has the year, you would have a contact field for year. And then that would be assigned right next to your contact in your conversations tab in HighLevel. So you look at that contact, underneath would have all those contact fields pre-filled out for you. These you can watch happen live on the call. So when you're testing it and you're giving it information, you could have a window open, and as you're speaking, it's filling in those fields live, okay? Let's go over formatting these because this is important. So I'm just going to use this as an example so it's easy because there's standard fields. I'm going to just say first name. There's standard fields in HighLevel that you don't have to create. And here's first name. Okay. So here's first name. All right. So I can say I want to save it or replace it. So meaning um, if they call back and they give it again, it's going to override that. If not, maybe you don't want it to override it and you always want it to be there once. That's up to you. It's really going to depend. Okay. And then what to update. So you're going to say, generally I would put in here, extract the first name of the caller is what I would put in here. All right. And basically you can generate this with AI. And as you can see, they have 500 characters. So you could be very descriptive in here. So I want to extract the year of their trade-in. I want to extract, the brand of their trade-in. So you could be as descriptive as you like. One of the things I do is I always try to give them, high level defaults is to 2. I always give them four examples. So if I'm going to collect email, it may say mike.reamer@crmpros.ai. The next one I may say mike@gmail.com. The next one I can add, it may say, m.reamer@irs.gov. I could do all 4 different choices. I try to give them good context on what this should look like when they're transcribing that. So I always do 4 here. That's just my personal preference. It seems to work very well. I never have a hiccup. So that is important. Now let's talk about this because we kind of skipped over it. This is very important. Yeah. So during the call, you can have multiple triggers. So you can have I can send out an SMS because they want a color chart. I can have an SMS and a payment link. I can have an SMS. I can have a lot of them. So you can have multiple triggers for the same action. Yes. Because we'll do that on contact fields. We're going to have I can have 70 actions for contact fields if you really want to get crazy. That's kind of the key. So when do I select during the call versus after the call? This is important as well. So first of all, why does it even matter? Let's even back up a second. Why does that even matter? Well, if you're going to use that data during the call, we want it to be selected during the call. If the data is just captured for later, we just need it, but we don't need it right away, select after the call. A lot of people try to put everything during the call, but every time that happens, it's the same thing as using a knowledge base. You're going to have a little glitch. So if you just only put the essential ones during the call, it's going to be a better outcome for you. If you put them after the call, when the call's done, it's still going to grab all that data, but it's going to do it after the call, and you're not going to have any latency or glitching. Okay, so just keep that in mind. This is a good time to talk about this. Because if you're grabbing appointment data, for example, the address of service appointment, for example, keep in mind if you're a fence company and you're going to go out and give somebody an estimate, maybe they had damage to their fence at their home as a result of a storm. That may be different than their home address. So it may be a rental property. It may be a different location that you're meeting them than where they live. So maybe you're going to get the service address, which is different than their home address. So you would, and basically, let me explain this to you because I had to explain this to high level. This is important because you guys are you're gonna have this problem, and I want you guys to be aware of this. And I had to figure this out for high level. So essentially, when you have a service technician that's going to go out to that appointment, you want them to have that service address. So you want that to appear on your Google Calendar or your calendar. That has to happen during the call because we need that data, because once we book that appointment is done. In other words, that action is done and over with. So we also need to capture that data before the appointment is booked, because once the appointment is booked, it's already on the calendar and you can't add the address after the fact. So if you're going to book for a service company and you want that to appear on the Google Calendar, so when you click on it, you have the address, potentially what's wrong, maybe their car or the problem they're having, their AC is not blowing cold, as an example. You want to capture all of that before you book the appointment. And that has to be done during the call, but also before the booking, before the appointment is booked. People were doing that and booking it after the call, or even booking it after the appointment. And then they were wondering, why isn't this showing up on my calendar? It will never show up on your calendar unless you do what I just said. This has to happen during the call and before the appointment booking. Okay. And then it'll appear on your Google Calendar. And how does it appear? Well, it appears because you put custom fields in your Google Calendar setup, and you say, first name, last name, address, service address, whatever fields that you want to appear is what you do in your calendar setup in HighLevel. So that's going to be during the call. All right. So that is key. You definitely need to know these contact fields. This is massive. I ran into somebody yesterday doing hundreds of contact field updates, which, I mean, I've never gotten that extreme. I've never had to capture that, maybe 15 at the most, 20, but not, 100. That is pretty rare. So let's keep moving. Appointment booking, and I'm going to explain appointment booking because a lot of people don't understand this, and it's very, very critical. So I want to just explain how appointment booking works in HighLevel. So you're going to set up your calendar. This is very important. You're going to set up your calendar. It's going to have your slots, just like a normal appointment calendar in HighLevel. If you're not familiar with that, HighLevel has a very extensive calendar system, various types, various ways to schedule buffers and length of appointments and all that. If you're going to be doing demos, which we will be doing today, you're going to see, if I click here, you're going to see a fake booking calendar. All of our accounts where we do demos have a fake booking calendar. The reason for that is you never want to test to a live calendar because it's taking actual slots from your staff. So if you're going to be playing around and have a demo set up, I would suggest putting your demos in a separate sub account. This way you don't, just totally crush your CRM with contacts that are fake, but also book to a fake booking calendar at all times. But my point of this calendar booking action that I want to talk about is, and this is super critical, consider this appointment booking action as a bolt-on to this voice system. So once you enter and once you say appointment or booking and it goes into this booking action, which is a bolt-on, the AI doesn't know what you're saying. In other words, you can't correct the language. You can't get out of it. You're in this tunnel and it's going to book the appointment. That's just how it is. It's pretty aggressive at booking. So it's going to go, when you hear the word appointment, booking, consultation, it's going through this, it's going to hit this workflow and it's doing it. So once you're entered into it, a lot of people say, oh, I don't like what it says, or I don't like what it does. You can't change that. It's going to do its thing and then it's going to book. And then when you come back, you can kind of massage the words that it says, hey, you're booked, or however you do that. But once it goes down this path, it's going down this path and you have no control of it. Okay. I just want everyone to understand that. So here we can go ahead and select the fake booking calendar for the purpose of today. And then I'm going to hit next. So here is where they made some changes, which I think are pretty good. So you can say, listen, I want to grab the email address, the phone number, and optional details. It'll do that automatically. A few little tips. What I do, I don't like when the AI gets on there and gives you too many choices, because it's really hard. Like for the caller, they're overwhelmed. They're like, okay, do you want Monday at 1 o'clock, Monday at 2:30? Tuesday at 10 a.m. It gives you too many choices or too many days. So I like to always bring this down to 2 days. 2 days, and the buffer between slots I always put at 4. The reason is that'll give you 4-hour gap. So generally what will happen is you'll get a morning appointment and an afternoon appointment. If the caller says, well, I'm not available, then do you have anything else? It will look for other slots for you. Okay. So you want to get these, you want to get the days ahead as narrow as possible, because that'll increase your show rate. So just keep that in mind. And then down here, you can select if you want to allow cancellations and if you want to allow reschedules. Okay. So that is something that you would determine. Some people say, no, I don't want to allow them to cancel. I want them to call me if they want to cancel. Some people don't allow them to reschedule. That's a personal choice. Up to you. Some schools of thought says, hey, let them cancel rather than no show. But that, again, that's up to you. So that is how you're going to handle the calendar. But your calendar gets set up behind the scenes. You select it. It can be a calendar that has normal walk-in appointments, but the AI is booking to the same calendar. Not a problem. And this can sync to your Google Calendar as well. Okay. So let's just go ahead and save that for the purpose of today. So now we've already booked. We have the appointment booking. the next one is the custom action. Okay, so I think somebody in the chat was asking, how do we hook up external systems? Well, we can hook up external systems because we can connect to any API. There's millions of APIs out there. You can hook up to, as I mentioned, Shopify. Yeah, I can hook up to the water purification that I mentioned. I'll show you that agent that I built for the water purification, so you can kind of like get a look at it and see what exactly we're doing. Let me share that with you. So this is the actual agent where we were doing that. So here's one this one is actually grabbing local weather information. So maybe you have a home service business, maybe it's a roofing contractor, but you want the appointments booked around weather. So you don't want to be going out and doing estimates when it's going to be thunderstorming at that person's house, as an example. So this one will actually get all of this weather data. So current temperature, conditions, sunny, cloudy, wind speed, direction, participation. It'll grab all of this data from a free weather API. This is totally free. So as you can see, we're using this custom action, and I'll give you a shot of it. And I'll tell you, this is going to be a little tricky for you because HighLevel, they don't make it the easiest as far as this goes. And every one of these API setups is just a little bit different. So you're always going to have an endpoint. One of the things that's a little different, you're going to be using a get if you're going to be grabbing information and bringing it in. And this is just the, you're just grabbing the endpoint that's going to be available for that API. And I would suggest, honestly, what I like to do if I'm having trouble is I screenshot this screen, I bring it into ChatGPT, and I said, here's the API I'm trying to configure. Please tell me what I put in each one of these, okay? So you're going to put, it'll tell you, in the endpoint, put this. In the header, you're going to put this and this. So it's going to tell you. Everyone's going to be a little bit different. And then, what you're going to put down here as well. And then you can give it another screenshot if it requires authentication. And if you have to, the action name here is get the weather. So when the caller says, hey, what's the weather, or zip code provides a zip code, that's when this is going to get activated and it's going to give me that information. And then you can actually test this and deploy it. But let's just say you did all this and you go to test and deploy and you get a red error. So that's not a problem. Just, it's going to give you that and get the red error, copy it, put it back in the ChatGPT, and go ahead and say, analyze this and tell me what I did wrong. And it'll tell you what you did wrong until you get it right. Maybe it's going to take you 5 tries, but it's done and it works. Okay. That's how this is going to operate. But this is very powerful. Okay. I also want to take a minute because everyone likes to talk about MCPs. I'll talk about that real quick. What's the difference between MCP and an API, and when should you use them? First of all, so I just want to explain, an API is like a direct data feed. So the weather, and this weather has all these different properties, and we're using one API to get that. And it's going to be the same every time. And I'm going to grab these same conditions every single time. So that is an API, very, very, very efficient, very inexpensive. The next thing is an MCP. It's a model context protocol server. And essentially, I was probably the first one to ever build it. If you look at my YouTube, like years ago, I built one for HighLevel and people were like flipping out, and it got like 8,000 views. I built it, and you can call up on a voice agent and talk to your CRM and get all your information. I can have it do outbound calls. I can have it, pretty much do everything, move pipeline stages, everything. Since then, they've come a long way, and now they're pretty standard. I built my own way back in the day. People didn't even know what it was. But basically, an MCP, to keep it very basic, it's like having an extension cord in the UK and you cut the plug off, and having an extension cord in the US and you cut the plug off. And you got all these different color wires over here, and you have all these different color wires over here. The MCP is in the middle, and it allows them to communicate. That's basic how an MCP works. It's basically a connector. So, well, why wouldn't I use that all the time? Well, it's going to cost you a lot more money to use an MCP. So if you're using the same process like this weather, I'm going to use that. I would rather use an API. It's very, very efficient and very inexpensive. Well, why does an MCP cost so much more money? Well, why is that? It costs roughly 12 times more. And the reason for that is it's trying to figure out tool usage. So it doesn't know like what tool I need. So it's trying to figure out, hey, I'm trying to find this tool to do this job. And then the next thing, I'm trying to find this tool to do this job. And when you're doing that, it's less efficient. But sometimes it's required because maybe you're hooking up an external system and you want all of their data to be able to come in with one connector. That would be a benefit. And maybe the cost outweighs outweighs that. The cost isn't a big deal. The getting it done is the primary mission. So that would be an easier way to use an MCP. But if you have an option and it's the same task time after time, use the API route. HighLevel has both. HighLevel has APIs. I'm not sure if you're familiar. You can Google HighLevel API docs and you'll see all their APIs. So maybe you're only booking to the social planner, or you want to put something on the social planner. You always want to use the API because it's going direct. If you want to use their MCP, it does contact, social planner, everything, and it may be looking for those tools, and you're racking up tokens, which is money. So it's really up to you. On a small scale project, probably not that big of an impact. But I mean, we've done some massive projects where you're talking, thousands and thousands and thousands of lines, and it racks up kind of quickly, So that is how you do external systems. Okay. I have a doc on that. I can share that later with you guys in the chat. And, this way you can see how to do custom actions. All right. So that is how you hook up external systems. I think we covered all of the actions. These are very important. Okay. You notice the appointment booking is dull now because we already have it booked. So this one, you can't really like book calendar after calendar. You can book to do a multi-calendar for sure. So you can say, listen, I did a fence company recently that each sales rep had a calendar, each territory. So I was booking to 12 calendars. HighLevel makes this very simple. And I was very, very skeptical of this when it came out, and it works flawlessly. I have to give them credit. So they're using like an AI router. So you tell it like, hey, if this sales rep is in this zip code, you're booking to this calendar. If the appointment is in this zip code, you're booking to this calendar. You just do it in plain language, and the AI determines it and books to the proper calendar. I was booking to, I think it was actually 13 calendars. So for calls, and it worked flawlessly. I never even had a hiccup. I was very, very impressed. So that is that. Okay. So the next thing that we really need to talk about, and this is very, very important, is these knowledge bases. So let's talk about knowledge bases, when to use them, and the most effective way to use them, because a lot of people want to dump a ton of information here. I'm going to show you how to stay out of trouble with these knowledge bases, and it's very important. So let's create a new knowledge base. Let's create a new knowledge base. Okay. So we're going to create a new one, and this will be voice build. Okay. And you can put a description in here if you like. It's not required. So here's our blank slate for knowledge bases. So as I mentioned, my first priority is going to be like, listen, let's put everything in this prompt area. You'll be able to do that for 98% of your builds, I would assume. But there may be choices where you don't have that option. For example, we did a very extensive menu for a pizza restaurant where we were doing online voice ordering, and the menu was so complex it would have blown your mind. So they had like 2 different types of sausage, 2 different types of pepperoni, all these combo specials with wings and everything. It was just very complex with pricing and everything. So we had to do a knowledge base. But I want to show you the choices for knowledge bases, because HighLevel made their knowledge bases pretty extensive. They're also used to use a very, very poor model for their knowledge bases. Now they're using the very best on the back end. So it's like night and day. But I want to show you how to stay out of trouble with these knowledge bases. Number one, they have web crawler. This is where you're going to add a website, and it can crawl and update every day. If you like, it can go out and do that. All right. The thing is this is something I wouldn't use this. Honestly, I don't like it. I don't like to use it, because a lot of times what you're doing is you're infecting your data with bad information. So if you're scraping that website and that website isn't current, you're introducing bad data to your agent. And you can't see it. You can't visualize it. So I don't use this. I never, ever really use this. So if you'd like to use it, no problem. But I would be very cautious on using this. The one I do like to use is this one, which is FAQs. Let's look at FAQs. So the FAQs is where you're going to ask a question, you're going to have a question and an answer. You can add 75 FAQs. What I like about FAQs is that it's very controllable. So anybody on your team, anybody can add an FAQ and the proper answer. And you keep these in plain English. Are you open Saturdays? Yes, we're open Saturdays, 8 to 12, and we're closed on Sundays. Do you take this type of insurance? Do you take Medicare? Yes, we take Medicare and Blue Cross Blue Shield, whatever. So you get the idea. You're going to be able to visualize these and see them in a visual list. And if you have to change them later, it's a 2-second change and very controllable. So this would be my first line of action if I needed a knowledge base. Okay. If you can get away without it, then don't use it. The next one is a table. A table, I can import, I can add a table, I can upload it as a CSV. Great for pricing, great for like if you're going to have a used car lot or a car lot and they have inventory on the lot and you want to keep that up to date, you can utilize that. You can also import it from a Google Sheet. So you can have the year of the car, the make of the car, the sales price, and potentially the lowest sales price. I'm just making these up. That would be great for a table. Again, I use them, but I use them on very specific applications. The next one is rich text. Rich text is basically like a Word doc. This is a good one as well. So you have a lot of data and you say, oh, I'd rather scrape the website. Scraping the website is the easier route, but not the most effective route. So if you could take that scraped data and organize it, and you can just copy and paste it in here, now you have full control of this. We use this all the time. And let me give you a few examples when we use this. So we can have knowledge bases. Maybe we have a summer promo, for the summertime, or maybe it's Black Friday. I can have a Black Friday knowledge base that is just a Black Friday offer, and I can add it to that voice agent for a specific period of time. And then once that promo is over, I disconnect that from the knowledge base. That is a great example. I can have an upsell to another offer, and maybe it's only available at a certain time. These are just certain ways that you can use this rich text. The rich text is amazing because you can actually visualize it. So if you're having a conflict, it's very easy to troubleshoot. So that is just like typing on a Word doc, and it saves it. They built this because I did this. I used to do this, a workaround. I was building a funnel page in HighLevel, and it would just be text. And then I would attach the funnel page to the back end as a knowledge base. And then they said, oh man, that's a good idea. So they built this rich text, which I like even better. So this is definitely something that can be utilized. So I would be using FAQ, tables for pricing, and rich text for more data. Now, the last one is files. And when would we use files? So as you can see, you can do a PDF. You can upload doc files like Word doc. You can upload Google Docs, and you can upload MD files. MD file is a markdown file. So any of your LLMs can output as an MD file. Some of you may use Claude and you talk about MD files, but maybe really didn't know what they were. Basically, it's like a Word doc without any formatting or very specific formatting. It's stripped down. So you can upload those here. So when would I use this? Well, I mentioned earlier that we were utilizing the National Electrical Code. So I uploaded the entire National Electrical Code on PDF, and then we referenced it, and it did a pretty good job. Keep in mind, the larger the document, the longer the pause is, and you could have the agent saying, hey, I'm still looking, and give them a prompt saying, so there's not stale air, and just say, listen, I'm getting that information for you. I'm looking it up, and then it's researching. It's an API call, and it has to scan all of that data. Okay, so don't overload it with fluff. Keep it to the essential, which will reduce your latency as well. Okay, let me see. There's some questions in the prompt. No, I don't like scraping websites. I only scrape certain data from the website, and that's what my prompt generator does. Is like we grab Google Business Profile and certain data, but we already can see it. But here you wouldn't be able to see it, so I don't like doing that. If you go to their website and copy it, like highlight it and copy it into a Google Doc, and then take that Google Doc and put it into an LLM and say format this for a knowledge base, you're going to have a very clean output, and then you can put it into the text, the rich text editor here. Okay, so that would be the way I would do that. So if you have somebody with a pretty extensive site, go out, highlight all that text where you don't get images and all the garbage that goes along with it, clean it up, and then bring it into like ChatGPT or another LLM and say, format this, and maybe it's bullet points, or maybe it's just in a list format, and then you can dump it into the rich text area for the knowledge base. Okay, let me see. There's a couple of other ones. No, it would be spot on inventory on a car dealership. I mean, we've had those as long as that sheet's getting updated, which you can do a few different ways. You know, it's spot on. It will know everything. I've done it with yachts. We've done it with boating companies, a lot of that. So it's very accurate. How do you build that into an agent? Oh, so how do you build a knowledge base? So basically, you would prompt that, say, you know, utilize a knowledge base for this certain information. So, like in other words, if somebody's going to book a pizza order, we would say reference the knowledge base, you know, the pizza knowledge base for pricing, etc. So you would just tell it in plain language. You know, when I first started, prompting was very technical. Now prompting has shifted. I used to think prompting was going to be super something that would be an essential skill. They've proven me wrong. Now everything is going plain language. So if you could just put it in the prompt very plain and very direct, then it's going to reference the knowledge base. That's how you do that. So that is basically how to handle knowledge bases. Okay. So let me, I just want to, give me 1 second. I'm just making sure I'm in the right account. Actually, I am not. So give me 1 second here. Let me go back to voice agents in our demo. Okay, so we're back to where we started. So when you do that knowledge base, it jumps out like you know, it's okay. So you can connect these right here and select the knowledge bases for these agents, and it would be on a drop down. You can connect one or more. And then call settings. You're going to select the time zone of the agent, because maybe somebody's calling from California, which, you know, is definitely possible. You know, maybe they're booking the appointment, but we have to have a common denominator. So you want to select the call setting for the agent. When the agent books the appointment, it'll book it on their calendar and their time zone, and then also, you know, keep everything straight as far as time zone goes. The maximum call time, this is a critical setting. Generally, I try to set this usually around 8 minutes. I try not to let these go 15 minutes. I generally set them at 8 for a standard agent. Maybe there's you have a use case for them to go longer. That would be up to you. Then they have an idle time reminder frequency. So basically, if it's sitting there not doing anything, it'll say, "Hey, are you still there? You know, are you with me?" You know, you can actually set that as well. So pretty easy to understand. We don't have to get crazy with that. The next one here is agent behavior, like the thinking mode and the eagerness. I leave these as default. I very rarely change these, because you don't want that thing. The longer you have it thinking, the more pause there'll be. I just leave it at low. It's fine. If you find that it's not operating, you may be able to bring it up to medium or even higher. That would be done through testing. And then this here is going to be like, you know, what, you know, how, you know, how, you know, how, basically, essentially how it's responding. The higher it is, you could see it here. You know, it's going to be, you know, essentially giving like how quick it is to respond, okay, and how quick it is to give it an answer, and if that answer is correct. The next one is multi-language. So you can set a default language. Here, I'm going to leave it just the way it is, because we're using a new STS, which I'm going to show you here in a second. Okay, so you don't even have to mess with that. The next one is very important. This is where this is after the call is completed. Like, what do you want it to do? So do we want a summary to the notes for this contact? Yes, I would like that. Do I want it to email notifications? So who does that go to? I can even set it to an external email. It doesn't have to be anyone in our CRM. It can be an external email. So I can select that. I can say I want it to go to certain users in my CRM, contacts assigned users, all users, or just admins. You can check all or you know, none of these or all of these. Okay. And then you have your post-call workflow. Okay, so you could sit there, and this is valuable. So this is super important. We get a lot of questions on this, like, well, why would I run this through a post-call workflow? Well, there's a few things. Number one, let me give you 2 use cases. So for example, I wanted to determine like, Is this a hot lead, a warm lead, or a cold lead? So I can have in a workflow, I can have the transcript go into that workflow, analyze it by AI, and determine like it's what you define. Only you can define what a hot lead, a warm lead, or a cold lead is for your business or your client's business, because maybe it's different for me. So you say, hey, listen, if it's a hot lead, it's this. Maybe they want to do business in the next 24 hours. If it's a warm lead, yeah, they're interested, but they're going to get back with us. And a cold lead, like they were totally not interested. So you can actually have AI analyze that transcript and put them in the right bucket, for example. So you can do that on a after the call workflow. The other thing that we've done, because somebody was mentioning call center, we've done this for a call center. For example, your home service business, and we have to notify the on-duty technician. I don't like to send them the whole entire transcript or even a summary of it. I want to have that. I want to have that SMS that goes out to that tech be the same every single time. So I want to have customer name. I want to have service address. I want to have the problem and any notes. Okay. But I want that block to be exactly the same each and every time. You can do that in a workflow. You can do that with, if I'll give you some tips here. You can play around with it. You'd set that workflow up and you'd use a custom code block. And you'd set it up, get with ChatGPT, saying, I want to do a custom code block, and here's the data that I want. And you're going to paste that custom code block inside the custom code block. It's going to analyze the transcript and format that exactly the same. Maybe you want your logo and you want those certain things going to an email, but also an SMS, and it'll do it for you. So those are just things that you can do after the workflow. Maybe they're going to put them into a nurture. If they're a warm lead or a hot lead, you're going to put them into a nurture. You want that to happen. Or, maybe you're putting into a follow-up where you're going to call them back and it's going to send you a reminder. The sky's the limit for post-call workflows. Okay. So that is just some examples of that. And then lastly, we want to do a summary and an email report. So how well is this agent doing? But we'll talk about that more in testing. Okay. So let me see if there's anything here. Yeah, there would be. If you have a massive knowledge base, there could be a pause there. So I try to keep that as lean as possible. That's why I like the FAQs. It's very minimal. And a lot of times people try to load up these knowledge bases and you don't need a lot of knowledge base. You don't need to know about, like I mentioned earlier, what pesticides are using. You don't need that. You just need to know what's specific to that business that wouldn't apply to every other pest control company or every other med spa. If it applies to every other business out there, you don't need to put it in any knowledge bases because the AI already knows that. You only want what's specific to that specific company, basically. Okay, so if they are taking a certain type of insurance, or they require 50% deposit, or what their cancellation policy is for that company, that's what you want in a knowledge base or in the prompt. Start with the prompt first. If it overflows, then you're going to go to FAQ. If it overflows, then go to rich text. You don't need to put a bunch of fluff in these knowledge bases. All you're doing is bogging yourself down and your system down. So, like I said, I use a knowledge base maybe out of 2,500 agents, maybe 10 times. Try to keep it in the main prompt area. You're going to have a lot more efficient and better performing. So let me see, car dealer. Give me 1 second. Yeah, well, so you can set up a live database. So you can set that up live. So you can say, hey, listen, here's my database. The second your internal system says that car is sold, it removes it and it would be live. In other words, instantly. So for example, I built a private agent inside our HighLevel community where it knows everything about HighLevel and that updates live. So if HighLevel releases a new feature right now while we're on this call, it already knows it. If HighLevel changes something, it already knows it. So you can set those up live. And I do that. You could build your own little MCP server to do that. It's not that difficult. A little more advanced for this call, but it's totally doable. So you can keep that data live and tie into your current, inventory system for your auto dealership. Okay, so you can have live inventory to these agents. It's not difficult. So just keep that in mind. All right. So there is the prompt. We didn't even change anything, but we're going to go through testing and deployment. So the next one is this window here. So that handles all of these actions. As you can see, This is where all the power is in this system. You can get as creative as you would like. You're not going to break anything. So new users that are on this call, I would suggest testing all of this and playing with it. Just go into sub account, set up the agent. Nothing's going to break in your account. You can play around with this all day long and get accustomed to it. That's what I did. Keep in mind, this system has come a long way in the last year and a half, 2 years. When we first started, half these features, or I would say 80% of these features, were not available. The team is really doing an amazing job on the back end. It's really a great system at this point. Let's go to the deploy area. This is where you're going to actually select your phone number. So you can actually buy a number here, and you can manage numbers here. One thing I would like for you to do is just keep your numbers organized, okay? So I know that this is a test number, but when it goes back into your system, one of the things I would love for them to do is be able to see if this is assigned here, but it doesn't. But in the regular phone setup, it'll say it's assigned to a voice agent. But keep your numbers organized, keep them labeled in your phone settings, because this way you're not going to cross up your numbers, okay? So you can buy a number in HighLevel, local number, 800 number, it doesn't matter. I already bought this. This is a test number for me. Here's where I can assign it to a widget. So I can build a chat widget in the chat widget section, and then I can go ahead and add it to a site. I don't have any in this account. This is very important. This is where people want to set up, and here's where we get some friction. So you can go into a place of business, maybe they have a receptionist, and they're like, oh, we want a receptionist answering, and there's friction. They don't like AI, and you're going in there trying to help, push it into that business. Well, I've only had one, which I was kind of shocked, that said, I don't want AI answering at all. I don't even want it answering when my receptionist does not answer, which is kind of odd. So you'd rather let it go to nobody on nights, weekends, holidays, and when your receptionist is currently busy, than let this take a shot at it and saving that customer from going to your competitor. Okay, maybe we're not a good match at that point, because that's not really logical in my mind, but okay. So I can use it as a backup, saying, like, if my receptionist is on another call, out to lunch, taking a smoke break, or didn't call, or called in, I can go ahead and use it as a backup, or I can have it answer immediately and free that receptionist to do other tasks. Sometimes you may be using it as a backup. You may be using it as a backup and then transition later once they get comfortable into answering all the calls. Okay, so that could happen. It's just a toggle of a quick toggle here. All right. No A2P required unless you're doing SMS is the only time you need A2P. Okay, or so 800 number is a approval. It's really not A2P. It's different. So either one, it's not required unless you're doing SMS. If you're just doing straight voice or on a chat widget, you don't need any A2P. You can go live right now with the number. Okay, so you can also set your working hours here. So I can say it's going to answer 24/7, but they've given you a lot of flexibility. So I say, hey, listen, I want this to answer from 12 o'clock a.m. to 12:30 a.m. And then I can on that Monday, because maybe they're at lunch, and then I say at 2 o'clock to 2:30, I'm going to have it answer. And then I could say from 3 to 4:30. You get the picture. So I can set these up as granular as you want. Maybe the receptionist takes off from lunch from this time to this time, and they're on break from this time to this time, and that's when you want this agent to pick up. So you can set that up as as much or as little as you want. Then you can also select the days. So I can select all the days and apply it. So now I don't have to copy these, each and every time, or I can modify them by the day if I'd like. So that is very, very flexible. Okay. But for the purpose of today, we're going to answer all the calls, and we're going to answer it 24/7, and we're going to save. Okay. So that is how you basically deploy it. It's very simple. I would expect this area, as they build this system and have more features, you're going to see more and more features added. They're going to build these pages out. They've got two, but the way they've navigated this, they can add additional features later. Okay. How does the backup work personalized? Can you explain that a little more, Jose? I don't understand the question. Just give me a little more context. Like, a backup on what? And I'm going to grab a drink anyway. We're also pretty close to doing a demo. So let's get ready to call this, so we can go ahead and do some testing, and I'm going to show you how I test and how I found that it works. So let me talk about testing now, because it's very important. So I would test, it's up to you. You can test in here. They give you a certain amount of minutes per day. I often exceed it, so I just use my phone. If you'd like, you can even use a Google Voice number just dedicated to testing, and you can utilize that. A lot of people will do that, and you can test it on your computer, or if you want, just use your cell phone. It's not a big deal. I like to use my cell phone, just easier for me. So how I test this is very simple. I start with I listen to the initial message. If the initial message passes, because if you have a typo here, it's not going to speak right. I didn't mention this initial message, that the AI doesn't know about this initial message. Treat this as a voicemail almost. It's gonna say it, but the AI has no recognition. So you can't give it information here and think the AI is picking that up. The AI has no idea. The AI will start picking up once the caller starts talking. So it has no idea about this initial message. But the first thing I do is listen to this, because if I have a typo, because maybe I changed something and I have a typo, it's going to sound off. So always check this for spelling, etc. Spelling does count there. So maybe that call is over at that point. So my first test call is to hear that, and I fix it, and I call it again, and I test it again. Then the next step would be is continue on the call. All right. So I try to treat it like a regular customer. So, you're going to have some scenarios in your head, and the scenarios are always based around, these three choices. So I'm going to run it through those three paths essentially. And at any time that I feel that it's not correct, it doesn't do what I say it's going to do, I stop and I hang up the call and I fix that immediately. I don't run through the entire call and have a list of things that I need to fix. I just don't do it that way. The reason is I found that, if you mess with something over here, it can impact over here. So I like to do it linear, and I start there and I go, okay, we're going to go here, and it passes. We'll go here. Oh, I failed. I fix it. I call again. And I continue that path. So some calls may last 5 seconds, other calls may last 30 seconds, and I continue. The average amount of calls for me to test this would be around 30 to 40 calls before I can say, okay, it's live. All right. And then I'll get through the entire thing. I try to book the call to the calendar. I'm asking it, if I'm using a knowledge base, make sure that it's answering knowledge base questions properly. I'm gathering all my fields. I want to make sure that I'm capturing all my fields, because I have all these actions in this right-hand side that I did. I want to make sure it's grabbing all of those. And it's just behaving properly. If I'm making a change, this is where I jump back to this doc. I make my change here, and then I come back and I go back to, hang on one second. So I go back here and I paste it. So I highlight this, delete it, and I paste my doc back in, and it just keeps my versions in sync at all times. So that's how I do it. Oh, I'm on the wrong one. Hold on one second. I got so many things open. Give me 1 second. 1 second, guys. All right. So, yeah. So anyway, that I would always just copy and paste it, so I know my versions are in sync. And the goal is to get through the entire three pathways without any errors. Then I'm okay. So then my last call is, I don't care what the AI says at all. I don't even care what I just want to know that the responses are correct. They can try to ask me questions. I don't answer them. I'm just firing questions at them one after another, because I want to keep this call as condensed as possible, and I want to stress test this agent. So I'm going to be like, are you open on Monday at 9 o'clock? Are you open Saturday at 12 o'clock? Are you open Sundays? Are you open after hours? What if there's an emergency? You kind of get the idea. I'm just rapid firing and making sure all those questions are answered properly. And if it's trying to book you, I say, no, I'm not ready to book. I want to know this, this, and this, and just keep asking it questions one after another. That may take 3 to 5 minutes, and I'm just firing and making sure that it's answering all the information accurately. That I stress test at the very end. And then I can say, okay, I can go ahead and make this live. And keep in mind, if you have a client, this is a very critical point, because the way I talk to it could be different than 1,000 other people call and talk to it, or the way you talk to it when you're testing it. So it's very critical when you first deploy this is to keep an eye on their calls, record their calls, and make sure that you're listening to them over the next 24 to 48 hours, and make sure that it's doing things properly. Could it mess up? Yes, it could. But your goal as a agency owner, or even deploying it in your own agency or your clients, is to catch them before the client does. So, yeah, you may have an issue with it not doing something exactly the way you want it, but if you're on top of it and you made that change, it's not going to do it again. And also, these agents are not set it and forget it. HighLevel's changing, AI is changing. So that is where you justify your monthly reoccurring income. So that's where you're going to say, listen, I'm going to put you in a maintenance and optimization plan. And you have to be proactive about that. In other words, just don't, take their money and never talk to them again, because they think they're going to ask for changes. You make them, and then you have to, every month, you have to send them an email saying, hey, listen, I answered this amount of calls for you. I booked this amount of appointments, potentially save you this amount of revenue. You can be as creative as you like, but that's going to keep your, they're very quick. They're very quick to forget what you do. So you have to continually be in their mind and saying, listen, here's the value I provide. If you're doing reviews, here's how many reviews you responded to. Here's how many reviews you got by going outbound and getting them. I reposted them to your website. I posted them to your social channels. So the more comprehensive that report every month, the quicker they're going to be, not looking to drop you. Okay. So that is just something to think about. So be proactive and do that. So somebody has a question. If a Google customer's main number is a Google Voice number, how do you connect it so you can forward that? To be honest with you, I don't know the answer to that. I don't want to give you bad information. I'm not sure if a Google Voice number can be forwarded, but if it can be forwarded, then you forward it to the HighLevel number. I'll go over that real quick. I have a sheet on it. I can put it in the, I'll use Facebook to distribute some of this information. So if you go to my personal profile where we posted the live, I'll add a sheet. I have a sheet for that, how to forward numbers and how to do it for the different carriers. But also, I want you guys to think about something. We deal with a lot of mom and pop businesses. Oh, you did it yesterday? Okay, perfect. Thanks, Melanias. I didn't know, on a Google Voice. So keep in mind, I look at it as an opportunity. A lot of these mom and pop businesses, they're going to be very apprehensive about giving you their control of their phone, because they're using their personal cell phone for their business. I look at it as an opportunity to kind of get them off of that. So if you're going to deploy this technology for them, they're not going to be strapped to their phone all the time. So the best way to do that would be to get a new number for take their current cell phone, port that into HighLevel. If you can get them to port that into HighLevel, number one, they're more sticky. They're not going to leave you because that number is already ported in. It's kind of like you changing cell phone carriers. Most people don't like to do it. It's a pain in the neck and all that. So if you can get them to port their number into HighLevel, the chances of them sticking with you are far greater. Number two, if you could take their existing cell phone, even though personal numbers have it, it doesn't matter. Bring that into HighLevel and let them get a new personal line, and get their friends and family, give them their new number, and segregate their personal line from their business line. That is that you're going to have a much higher rate of success if you do that, because it's easier to give personal friends and family your number than it is to give every person that's dialing your business the new number. So make that current personal line their business line, if possible. Keep in mind, you can also use these numbers to track. So like if they're doing a campaign, for example, and they want to know how many people saw that number that's on the side of my van, I can do that. I can track to see where these things are coming from. So there's a lot of flexibility there as well. The sky's the limit. All right. So let's dial this as a test. Let's do that now. What I'm going to do is, since we have so many people on different platforms, I was going to dial it here, but I'm going to dial it with my own cell phone. I'm going to put my cell phone up to the mic so you guys can actually hear it. And I'm going to show you some of the power of the speech to speech as well when we're doing this call. So let me see here. All right, let's do it.
Thanks for calling Roofing and More, Inc. Are you looking for roofing, roof replacement, or something else?
I have a really bad roof leak in my house. We had storms here, and I really need to speak with somebody. I just don't even know your options of what types of roofing. I was looking at a metal roof. Do you guys carry those?
I understand you're dealing with a leak after the storms, and we do offer metal roofing options. Before we get into that, Michael Reimer, welcome back. And can I please confirm your email is mreimer@crmpros.ai?
Yep, that is correct. Yeah, I called last week for an estimate, and I just wanted to follow up on it because it got really bad after the storm. So I wanted to see about potentially having somebody come out and measure and get that done. Is that something you guys can do? And what's the warranty on these metal roofs, by the way?
Yes, we can definitely schedule someone to come out. And our metal roofing comes with great warranties, including high level manufacturer protection and our own craftsmanship warranty. Would you like me to schedule that appointment for you now?
I have a couple of questions though before we even do that. As far as the best longevity, like is a metal roof versus like a shingle roof versus a tile roof, like what would give me the best longevity?
Metal roofs generally have the best longevity, often lasting much longer than shingle or tile. Are you interested in seeing some options when we come out for the inspection?
Yeah, for sure. Because I also know you guys offer those in colors most of the time. So I'd like to see all the options. My wife would be involved in selecting that.
Great. We can show you all the color options and schedule that appointment. Would you prefer a weekday or a weekend visit?
I have a question before we even get started because I'm just doing a demo with some people here on the call. Do you speak Spanish?
Sí, hablo español. ¿En qué puedo ayudarle con respecto a su techo? Would you like to continue in English?
No. Do you speak Tagalog?
Oo, nakakapagsalita din ako ng Tagalog. May kailangan ka bang tulong tungkol sa bubong ninyo? Gusto mo bang pagpatuloy sa Ingles?
Do you speak German?
Ja, ich spreche Deutsch. Gibt es etwas, das ich für Sie tun kann?
Do
Are
you
you still...
do you speak Creole?
Oui, moi parle créole. Est-ce que yon bagay moi kaye dewag do kayou? Ou t'as préféré continuer en anglais?
Do you speak German?
Ja, ich spreche Deutsch. Gibt es etwas, das ich für Sie tun kann? Möchten Sie auf Englisch weitermachen?
So anyway, you get the idea. First of all, very, very snappy. In other words, you didn't see any latency. The thing with those calls is if I interrupt it, it does it very gingerly. It's not a big deal with interruptions. It handles it gracefully. And then also it knows your emotion when you call. So I really like that thing is answering all these languages out of the box, and it'll flip back and forth. So you can have even multiple people on the call and it'll flip back and forth all day long without an issue. So pretty impressive to say the least. I think it's the future, and I really this is my go-to at this point for these agents. There's no really selecting voices. It just does it right out of the box. As you can see, it's doing 75 languages, which is pretty powerful for any voice agent. So let's do let me see here. Let's do a little Q&A because I think it would be beneficial to do that. If anyone has any questions or anything like that, we will answer them on the call and answer as many as we can. Or if you'd like to see something else demoed, we can definitely do that. So let me see. I use GHL Ask AI agent connected through my Chrome browser to do it for me. So you can so Ask AI has about 110 templates now in Ask AI. That's going to be on your left-hand sidebar all the way at the top. Ask AI can build a voice agent from scratch. It'll prompt you with questions, and it can build it on autopilot if you like. So yeah, I mean, I like the S to S. The speech-to-speech technology, in my opinion, has been flawless. When I first started testing it, it was decent, but now it's really good. So they're making improvements on the back end. And just so everyone knows what HighLevel's doing, yeah, they use retail on the back end, but it's not a pixel to pixel copy. They're building on top of it. So you're going to, there's features that are not on retail that HighLevel built. So like it can book to 30 calendars as an example, but they're building on top of it. So yeah, that's the behind the scenes tech right now. And they're building features like in excess of what is in retail. Okay, prompt optimizer. Yeah. So we'll talk about prompt optimizer. So HighLevel has a prompt optimizer. I've utilized it. To me, you know, it's okay. It's a decent tool. I don't really utilize it very much. I just go for my testing procedure, and that's my procedure. I just do that every time, and I very rarely have an issue. Their prompt optimizer may give you some suggestions on how to enhance your prompt or modify it. I use my same template every single time, and then I use that as a benchmark. And then from there, I modify or enhance from that point, and it's done pretty well. Would I change things on that call that we just did? Yeah, I would. I didn't like the initial message. I didn't like where it said, "Thanks for calling Roofing and More Inc." I would get rid of what you guys can see. Well, actually, you can see it. I don't like the way it said Roofing and More Inc. I would get rid of Inc. and say, thanks for calling Roofing More. Are you looking for, roofing, et cetera? And I would make those changes because, you want it to be supernatural. Nobody would say, you've called Roofing and More LLC or Roofing and More Inc. So those little things have to be changed. I'm not even sure that their prompt optimizer would pick that up. But if you feel comfortable using that, go ahead. I've used it a few times. I mean, I didn't really get the benefit. I'm not saying it's bad. Some people may love it, but I just don't use it. But it's just like anything. Like what I think is a great voice, you think is the worst voice, and that happens all the time. I think, this voice is amazing, and other people are like, oh, that's the worst voice I ever heard. It's just kind of like music, right? Same thing. So let me see what else you got. Telling business owners voice AI can assist their staff. So yeah, I mean, so how do you demo that? Well, there's a couple of ways. It depends what you want to do. So if you want to build an agent and build some demo agents for you could set them up in a sub account. So you can use the prompt generator that I'm going to give you access to, and you can build these and have real agents, at your disposal. So if you're going after med spas, all med spas, then have a med spa demo. If you're going to be, dealing with maybe a med spa today and a roofer tomorrow, then build a roofer demo. It doesn't cost you anything. So build those in a sub account. That's one way. We built a demo system where we can take, we do it on autopilot. So we built a demo system where I can have a form on the web page. It builds the voice agent on the back end, and it puts it on their website and on an iPhone, and they can chat with it and talk to it live on their actual site, which is impressive because they like that we've done it semi-custom on their own website. So that is one way. Okay. Okay, so I knew there would be a question on this, and I'm happy that Jason brought this up. There's always questions on pricing, and let me go over how I do that, and you guys could, utilize it, modify that, as you see fit. So how do we price this? Okay, so let me just give you. I'm going to try to make this as easy as possible. So we just did a roofing one. Okay, we just did a roofing agent. A roofing agent, the average ticket on a roofing company could be in excess of $125,000. Maybe they're a commercial roofer. Maybe it's $200,000. Maybe it's $1 million. I don't know. But that's a high ticket client. So when I hear roofing, it's a high ticket client. If I hear personal injury, that's a high ticket client because those leads are worth a lot of money. A personal injury lead is worth more than any other lead in any other niche. So when I hear high ticket, that's what I think high ticket. And we'll talk about that. So that's high ticket. What do I consider medium ticket? And I just do things like systematically, just how I'm wired. So what is a medium ticket? Well, a medium ticket, we talked about electrical companies. That electrical company maybe has an owner and maybe like 5 vans on the road and 5 electricians, maybe medium, medium ticket client. And then we have low ticket client. Well, what would a low ticket client look like? Well, maybe it's a single lady that's cleaning houses, and it's just her and her daughter, and they clean houses. Or maybe it's a guy that, it's a side hustle for him, and he cleans swimming pools, and it's just him, and it's his business, and he needs this because he's in the middle of cleaning swimming pools all day and the phone's ringing. So those are three choices: low, medium, and high, just to give you a context of the bucket. So how do we price that? Number one, in my opinion, I don't think it's good to put pricing on the website at all. And I don't price it on these calls either. And I'll go over how we do it. But basically, the reason I do that is, just think about it for a second. You don't want the high ticket person, the roofing company, to see the low ticket pricing, because they're going to try to shoot for the low ticket pricing and automatically think it's going to be super inexpensive. On the same token, I don't want the lady that's cleaning houses to be freaked out when they see the high ticket pricing and be like, that's too expensive for me, I can't afford it. I want them all. I don't want to service just high ticket people. And the reason for that, I want diversity. I don't want to have all my eggs in one basket, because if you lose if you're dealing with high ticket and you're dealing with less of them, maybe you only have 8, 1/8 of your business could be gone tomorrow or more, potentially, if you lose that client. So diversification to me is important. The other thing is, I want you guys to understand something. A lot of people in high level and in marketing in general, they say, listen, you really need to niche down and have a specific niche. Well, I believe that if you're tied into that niche. So like, if you happen to be dialed in, maybe you're the president of the people that write the National Electrical Code, you're on a committee and you know all these electricians, that's different. I would say, okay, yeah, go for that niche for sure, because you're dialed into that niche. Or maybe you're into education and you know everyone on the school system and you're going for educational type opportunities. That would be your first priority for sure. I mean, it's the path of least resistance for you. But at the end of the day, like, I go for plumbers, I go for electricians, I go for, veterinarians, I go for dentists, doctor, everything. Because as I mentioned on this call earlier, these are semi-custom. So it doesn't matter. I need to know the same amount of information to deploy this technology for an electrician, as a plumber, as a dentist, as a doctor, pretty much across the board. So to me, the niche doesn't matter. But if you're dialed into that niche, by all means, go for that. Now, let's talk about pricing. So let's talk about pricing. So let me give you an example. First of all, it's a simple math equation. And I think this is warrants a little bit of a talk here for a couple of minutes. So what I would try to do is get them on a discovery call. We failed at that. We used to do a 1-hour discovery call. And once you get somebody on a 1-hour discovery call, they're going to talk for an hour. We don't want that, because you're going to do a lot of discovery calls, but really not get a lot of business out of it at the end of the day. Their return isn't going to be there. You're going to spend a lot of time on the phone or on a Zoom call, but at the end of the day, you're going to be wasting a lot of time. Now we do a 10-minute discovery call. So anyone that's interested, we get them on a 10-minute discovery call. The 10-minute discovery call is not to know everything about their business. It's really to determine, we're kind of like setting up a date. Like, do I like this person? Do they like me? Is there a good vibe there? Because if I'm getting a vibe that this is going to be a problem or friction, or I'm sensing various things that would be a turnoff to me, I don't even go any further. I'd be like, this isn't a good fit. I would never leave them hanging, because out of respect, I'd be like, I'm gonna try to find somebody that, would be a good fit for you, but I don't think we're, a good fit. So I would try to end that call as soon as possible and not waste anyone's time. Because if I sense that there's a problem right now, I know down the road there could often be even more of a problem. So I'd rather end it right there. Even though I'm trying to get my first client and I'm trying my hardest, I mean, sometimes it's, you have to learn how to say no. And I think people in this chat would agree with me. So you have to learn how to say no. And that may be an indication for you to say no, but that's up to you. So 10-minute discovery call, we determine if we're a good fit. If we determine we're a good fit, say, listen, I really think we're a good fit. I want to look at your business a little bit further, and let's schedule now, while we're on this call, a 1-hour discovery, the next step, which is going to be a 1-hour call where we analyze your business and we come up with a solution for you. I never, ever go over pricing on the phone at all. I don't care if they want to know about what it costs. I don't want to hear any of that, because I don't want to be pressured into pricing. Sometimes you'll shoot it too high and other times you'll shoot it too low. And that's exactly what I tell them. I say, listen, I want to look at your business first and give you an accurate representation of what this is going to cost, because I want to determine the scope and give you it accurately. I don't think it would be fair to you if I price it too high, and I don't think it would be fair to me if I price it too low. So let's price it accurately for both of us. And normally when you say it like that, they're pretty good with that. So I would definitely don't give the pricing on a call. So then you get on with your 1-hour call. That's when you're going to learn all about them and exactly what they want. You're drilling down, like, You don't want to have scope creep. In other words, you don't want to be like, okay, we're going to deliver this voice agent, and then they hang up the phone and are like, well, where's the workflows that go on with this? Where's this and where's that? And all this other stuff. You have to really detail that out, and then you're going to give them a price. Okay. So that's number one. That's how we operate generally day to day. Number two, the most important thing is pricing. So how do we do that? So we just talked about the roofing company, and we said, listen, what's your average ticket? Because I'm trying to gather during that 10-minute call, like, hey, you're a roofing company, how many roofs do you guys do a year? Just general conversation to kind of extract this information. What's your average ticket? How many tickets do you do a month? How many roofs do you do a month? So I can already tell, like, if they're making millions and millions of dollars, no matter what, if it's a high ticket, a medium ticket, or a low ticket, it's a simple math equation. At the end of the day, it's a math equation. If I can tell that roofing company that makes $1 million a month that they have to pay me $10,000 a month, or 10,000 set up and $5,000 a month, as an example, would that be worth it to them to get another 3 to 5 roofs or 3 roofs at 150,000? Yeah, it's a good math bet, right? So that's what we're trying to do. The same thing with the medium ticket, the electrician. If I can get you 3 more houses to perform electrical work, maybe you're putting brand new electric in new houses. If I can get you 3 or 5 of those based on the number of calls that you get or the number of calls you're missing, would you pay me $5,000 setup and $2,000 a month to do that? Is it a good financial bet? It wouldn't be if you go to a casino and say, listen, I'm going to bet $100, and it's going to be a very tough gamble to make 100. It'd be very hard, so you have to position it as a good gamble for that company. Same thing with the mom and pop, low ticket. So maybe they're charging $150 to clean your house. But if you can get them 3 more clients as a result of them missing all these calls, would they pay you $197 setup or $297 setup and $100 a month? Because at the end of the day, I'll take it, because maybe you can make a difference in that low ticket company or even medium ticket, and they start growing and they grow along with you. And then, keep in mind, this is a foot in the door as well. So just because you're doing voice agents, they're going to ask you to do, hey, do you do social media? Can you automate that? Oh, I didn't realize this. Can you do my reviews? They're going to ask you to do other services as well. So, you have to be ready for that. And sometimes you'll say yes, and other times you'll say no. I had people that have asked us to do integrations that I knew are going to be a one-off for financial institutions. Very, very expensive, $30,000, $50,000 integrations. But at the end of the day, I turned it down. And the reason I turned it down is because, I just felt like they expected one thing, I'm providing another thing. And at the end of the day, I would probably be making less than $1 an hour when it's all said and done. It would be easier for me to sell 10 of these that went over today than it would be to tackle that and put everything on pause just to focus on that and sell it one time. If somebody asks me to do an integration that's very, that's amazing, and I can resell that same integration over and over and over, and I have it, that's a different story. But if it's a one-off thing, you may want to say no. And it's the same thing with other, them asking you to do other services. Some you may say yes. I mean, there's a few choices. I mean, again, I'm a systems guy. Some of them may be cut and dry. You say yes, I can do that for you. Others, you say absolutely not. And maybe there's a hybrid. Maybe you say, listen, I'm going to turn you on to somebody that can do it. And maybe you work a deal out where you mark that up a little bit just for providing that lead or whatever, as long as that person's reliable. So there's a few ways to do all of that, for you yourself or your agency. Okay. So those are just some tips on pricing. You have to make it a positive bet for them, essentially. So they're going to the casino and they're gambling that you're going to get them 5 new roofs, and how much do those roofs cost? And you're a fraction of that, essentially, is how you price it. And if for those that are just starting out, which I know we have them on the call, how do we get our first clients? I mean, this is a thing that I get asked all the time. Like, we've been pretty successful in helping people get first clients. The first clients are in your phone. You're going to be your first client. Go through your cell phone. They're already in there. You have to hit them up. The second, then once you've done that and get them, you're going to give them a discount, not free. And then but you always want something out of it. You want a video and written testimonial, and you want them to recommend you if they're happy. That's it. Give them a discount. Those are maybe your first 1 or 2 or 3 clients like that. Your object is to pay for your HighLevel subscription and be not in the negative. And then you're going to go for your next phase. Your next phase could be getting a smaller discount, but you want to get a couple more. And what I found works, rather than, you calling all over the place saying, hey, I just started an AI agency, I'm doing voice agents, and I'd really like to work with you. most people are very apprehensive when you do that. So what I would suggest is reaching out to friends, and instead of trying to sell them, that you talk to them and say, hey, listen, John, I don't know if you know, I started up a new AI agency. I built voice agents for small businesses. I found them to be really effective. Can you recommend 6 people that you know that may benefit from this service that I provide? They're more apt to help you. And then you would call those 6 and say, hey, John asked me to give you a ring. He thought I would be a good fit for you. What have you done there? You put that gentleman in a position to help you, which they will do. And number 2, the people that you call, you already let them know that John recommended you to call them. And usually it'll break down some barriers and potentially get your next set of clients. So that is what I found works very well. And then from there, it's a flywheel. You're going to keep getting more and more and more as you start to grow. But yeah, it'll be a little slow start at first, but it's totally doable. And it's I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to be driving a Lamborghini next week. It's going to be a lot of hard work, but at the end of the day, it'll be worth it, in my opinion. If you put in the work, you're going to succeed. And I've repeated that over and over. I don't know if the gentleman's on the call. I had like in Manila, I had 12 people come to me and tell me exactly that we made a difference in their life. One almost lost their home and everything and did exactly what I just told you, and now is doing very well. So from all over the world, India, everywhere. So it doesn't matter. If you put in the work, it's going to pay off. It's not going to be it's not going to be easy path. It's going to take a lot of time and effort, but at the end of the day, I think you'll find it successful if you put the time in. So let's see in the chat. Let's see what we got. Yeah, so we have an onboarding forum that we can utilize, Harold, as well. But basically, I'm just listening. I would suggest recording these meetings. I happen to use Applaud, which I really love. So you can record them, or you can use Zoom recordings or anything, and you can develop a template where it extracts all that data for you. So you don't even have to do it manually. So as long as you're on that call and you're asking the right questions, and those questions get answered, then you can analyze that and get you. It'll generate the proposal for you. HighLevel does a really, really nice job. All of our proposals are auto-generated. It'll generate, workflow to have them sign. And definitely do this, please, is make sure they're paying 50% before you start any work. Don't be a nice guy and then right before you're ready to deliver, they vanish and you did all this work. So 50% deposit no matter what, and then have them pay that. And then upon completion, you go ahead and charge the balance. But yeah, you can do that all automated. I think Nicole said have deals with some bar associations, affinity. I have an opportunity. So you're talking about legal? Yeah, we do. One of our biggest clients is in the legal space. So there's huge opportunity. Most of the legal space, they're looking for, lead generation because maybe that's what they're looking for. But the sky's the limit. It doesn't matter. If you have a hookup in legal, then you go for legal, and then you can always add additional niches. That's not a problem. So you add also Nicole, like what I found effective for me, I found when you're selling voice agents, it's very difficult to sell them standalone. The reason it's difficult is people don't want to give up their number. So we try to package them with 5 things in HighLevel. So we have clients that never log into HighLevel, but we still provide these services. So what we do is database reactivation, very easy to deploy. One workflow does it. So we take their old leads and reactivate them. Those are the easiest because a lot of these people are running ads and then they ignore their customers. So they have a revolving door. The object is to rejuvenate their old leads. And then if they're running ads, to add to that pot. Then we do we do reputation management, get their reviews answered, even past reviews, but even put them on their website with a widget, and also post 5-star reviews to all their socials. Reviews are huge. People are interviewing that company before they even make the phone call. So they're checking that company out, and that's going to get them more business. So those are 2 revenue generators. Then we do the voice, as I mentioned. It's just a numbers game. I'm answering the call 24/7, 365. That's 66% more coverage minimal just by answering nights, weekends, and holidays. That doesn't even count. I just dealt with somebody, he may be on this call, I don't know. He was missing 8,000 calls since January, and he has a full-time receptionist. He almost fell over when we analyzed his data. So if we can capture those and turn those into revenue, that's huge. And then conversational AI does the same thing. Everyone's quick to post on social platforms, but they're very slow at responding to them. So those are leads. Those are ready to go. They do the same thing as a voice agent just by texting. So if I can book them to the calendar, if I can get them, in appointments, etc., those are all revenue generators. And then lastly, I found this as a necessity. You can go to somebody's website and it could be a beautiful website. They just had it redone by a designer and it looks amazing, but it's nothing more than a brochure. It doesn't do anything for that company. And I've analyzed this, and basically we use HighLevel and we optimize that website. So we have calendar booking on there. We have a widget on there, whether it be voice or chat. We're doing, if they fill out a form, they're getting hit up immediately. We're following up, because what does that do? That stops the person from calling the next person. If we have to escalate it to a team member on an emergency, we do it. So we back up their whole website and make it more than a digital brochure. We make it an effective platform to get customers, because that's what they want. They want jobs. So there's a lot of power in HighLevel. You don't have to worry about 600, and the last I counted, like 680 features, probably more than that now. But you don't need to worry about all that. I keep mine down to 5. I try not to sell them a la carte. I will if there's friction, but I try to sell that as a package. And then once we have that, then we can go into other things if they want it. But I like it because it's easy, repeatable, and it's easy for a single agency owner to do. And then as you grow, it's easy to train somebody to do it as well. So that's kind of what I like to do. Yeah, the sky is the limit. I mean, honestly, yeah, 5 pillars is what I call it, but it works for me. It's worked for a lot of people, and I just feel that it's effective because those 5 pillars, really, I've studied this, and it affects 100% of the businesses out there, regardless of niche. So it makes a difference, and that's where a lot of businesses are slipping. And how do I know this? Because I was one of them. We would do great business on people's mega yachts, because I had a mega yacht business. We were doing mega yachts for celebrities, and basically we would do work for them, and we would do amazing work, and then we wouldn't talk to them until they maybe came in the door the next time. So we learned from experience and refined this, and I found it to be very effective. So you guys can utilize that if you like. I would suggest everyone here, I would definitely, I'm going to stop my sharing for a second. What I would suggest here from this point forward is that you guys, potentially, we have a free Facebook group. Join that. I'll share the documents in there from this session. That would probably be my best bet, honestly, because I can, keep it in one spot. Join in there. I'll share the documents that I think you would really enjoy and be very useful to you as a potential business owner or agency owner. Doesn't matter. And then you guys can take those and go with it. I'll also post the prompt generator and all of that, the codes to get into that. I've assigned you guys a code. So the URL and all that will be done right after the call. I think that would be the easiest thing. If you guys can do me a huge favor, we spent a few hours together. Wow, we started 2.5 hours ago. Wow, time flies. Almost 2.5 hours ago. Wow. So if you guys can do me a favor, if you can like and subscribe us on Facebook as well as YouTube, that would be huge for me. And I will make sure that I make it up to you. I have tons of assets to share, and I will do it for sure. So it's a pleasure. If anyone has any questions, let's go for it. I'll stay as long as we have to. If there's questions, I'm staying. If there's no questions, then I'll see you in the group, and I will make sure I put all the assets there for you. It's very difficult. This is not like a Zoom call because we're broadcasting across 8 different platforms. So it's a little bit different. I can't really do it here. It's hard. Facebook group link. Let me see. Hang on a second. Give me a second. Let me see if I can try to do it. Hopefully you guys will visualize it. Give me 1 second. Groups. Bear with me. It's a free group, so it doesn't cost anything. We have a great time in there, and I think you guys would enjoy it. But I'm gonna put all the assets in there as well to make sure that you guys get taken care of. Give me 1 second, and I am getting the link right this second. So, wow, I didn't know I was a member of so many groups. It's so crazy. I do a lot of reading and stuff, so give me 1 second. Okay. Oh, there it is. All right. Yeah, I'm going to put the link in there. Hopefully everybody can see this link across the 8 platforms. Let's see, and I will post it here. There we go. Let me know. Give me a 1 in the chat if you guys can see all that. I think you can. I don't know. And Got it. Okay, that's cool. All right. Yeah. So we're kind of new on this. This is a new streaming software for us. We were using a different product. We switched over for this event, actually. So it's kind of new for us. So I appreciate everyone allowing us to test it. It seems to be working fine. Because we're broadcasting right now. We have a private community. We're posting to that, the Facebook group, personal, YouTube, Instagram, pretty much across the board. 8 different, like I mentioned, 8 different platforms. So a lot of reach, but people connect in different ways. I found that. So we try to make it available for everyone. So you'll see that in that group for sure. I will definitely, I'm going to be taking a little break, and then I'll put a nice asset pack together for you guys in that Facebook group for sure. So if there's any other questions, we'll hit it now. And if there's not, I will definitely see you guys on the next one. We'll let you know. And if there's anything you'd like to see, just post it in the Facebook group. Hey, go over this or go over that. We'll do it for you. Not a problem. We're not looking to sell anyone anything here. That's the main thing. We don't want any more work. And honestly, we just like to see other people succeed. So is there questions above? Let me see. Let me scroll. Yeah, prompt generator. I'm going to post in there for you guys. So not a problem. The link and the code. You're going to have a link and a code. So we talked. So we don't do Melade. So what about, pricing? So we basically try to price that all together. And honestly, I'll tell you a quick story. So we had people saying, "Oh, well, listen, I don't like one of your 5 pillars. I don't need conversational AI. I just want the other things." I'm like, "Okay." And they're like, "Well, how much is it?" I said, "Well, it's the same price. It doesn't matter. It's the same price. It's not really a la carte." And they're like, "Okay, then we'll take it." So like, people are funny, So how did you get your first AI? So I've been doing I've been blessed along this journey. So I started doing AI 4 years ago, pretty much full time. And the reason for that is I had my own business, and my team kind of handled my business when I learned this. And I learned this by accident because I was in Nashville, Tennessee. We were buying a new CNC and laser machine for our marine business. And there was this is 4 years ago. Keep in mind, people didn't even know how to spell AI. I laugh about it, but it's kind of true. So there was a sign that says, "Hey, implement AI in your business." So I went in there, and there was a lot of people in there, a few hundred, 300 maybe. And they were talking about all consumer-based tools. Looking back on it, I thought they were really like a cutting edge, which I guess they were, because not really many people knew about it. Like ChatGPT was very new. Everything was new. And they were using Midjourney, a bunch of different tools back then, but really nothing earth shattering. And then I left there. I said, "Listen, I have to do this for my marine business." And just like a lot of people in this journey, they start for their own business and they say they're going to do other marine businesses and then like not stop there. And that's kind of how I did it. And then I deep dove, and I was working AI full time from that point on. And then last November, I decided to give, rather than sell my marine company, I gave it to my employees, and this is what I do full time. So it's kind of what I really enjoy. So to me, it's not about the money. It's about happiness and helping other people succeed. So that's kind of how I started. But this is all I do. I do this 24/7, 365. I work average, maybe some days, 18 hours a day, because it's not work to me. I really enjoy it. So I'm here on a Saturday. So it doesn't mean I don't have a life. I do travel, but just got back from Manila, and just taking it easy this weekend, just doing a little catch up. And I thought I would try this live out with you guys. So I appreciate you having me for sure. Oh, you're very welcome. You're welcome. All you guys are welcome. No problem. So if there's did I forget anybody's question? If so, just repost it and we will handle them and answer as many questions as we can. Oh, how did we get the first client? Yeah. I mean, I just did it. Like I said, I mean, basically word of mouth, I mean, I was fortunate. We were dealing with a lot of boat owners that had businesses. So most of our first clients were people that I knew. That's how it's always going to be. And then from there, you're going to go from your people that you're close with, and then more distant, and it's going to happen. You just got to put the work in. Did you connect with the EPA? So on the water filtration? No, it's these APIs are public, so you can go and research. You say, hey, I want to know, I need to know a list of APIs for this specific application. You're going to find them. Some may be paid, but others are free. The one that I was getting was it was an EPA API, and it's free, no cost. Some of them also don't. some of them you got to realize they'll give you like thousands and thousands of uses, because an API typically, you're using it a lot, like a lot of times, and they give you free uses maybe per month. It's just like Google. Like if you guys ever use the Google Maps API, which I demonstrated in the prompt generator, that's where we put the address in. I think they give you like hundreds, like 300 uses of that every month for free. In our use case, maybe you're not using them so much. You're not like hitting them so hard that you never pay a bill, or maybe you pay $1 a month. So, keep that in mind. Just research them. Same thing with MCP servers. There's plenty of searches, places, they have websites on MCP servers. There's thousands now, and they're coming out every single day. 2 years ago, non-existent. Now everywhere. So, and we build them custom as well. Yeah, EPA, the water. Yeah, I got what you're saying. The water contamination database. Yeah, so you can just Google, just put in water. Yeah, just put in EPA water contaminants API into Google, and it'll come up. Real estate. We've done a ton of real estate. I've done chat agents for real estate. We were pulling in data live from MLS. We built those custom. I didn't realize, first of all, let me tell you, when I first started dealing with real estate with MLS, I didn't realize, like, we're in Florida. There's like 9 MLSs that handle just Florida, which I thought MLS is MLS. I thought when I first got into it, I thought, oh my gosh, we're going to tie in live data from MLS or Zillow or any of these platforms into these agents, and which it does. But I didn't realize that just in Florida, there's 9 and other states have many. I didn't realize that. I thought I was tying in one API, but in fact, you're tying in, like, if you want to cover all of Florida or all of the US, there's a lot. So there's services that provide that. And the biggest thing with real estate agents to do exactly like that is that you got to realize that the MLS is a massive database. And what you have to do, not to overwhelm the AI, is that you have to filter the results. So in other words, you don't want to say, hey, listen, tell me about every 3-bedroom house you have, because can you imagine how many 3-bedroom houses are for sale in the whole US? So you have to frame that where you're segregating that database. So, hey, what state are you in, and what neighborhood, even down to the neighborhood, down to the zip code perhaps, or even sub zip code. Then you have to ask it, like, how to shrink down to that person's need. Like, do you want a pool? Do you want to be on the water? That's everything that we did. How many bedrooms, how many baths do you want? What's your price range? And you can filter that data set down so it's manageable, because you want to get it down to, you don't want to overwhelm your user. You don't want to be talking about 20 houses. You want to be talking about maximum 6 potentially. And then you could set a workflow, which we did. You could set a workflow to send them photos of those houses after the call and say, okay, I got what you're looking for. Here's a range. We're going to send you data on these houses, and you can send them those six homes, which we've done that before. Let me see. What is speech to speech? Okay, so speech to speech, I covered that earlier on the call, but basically speech to speech is I talk and that AI knows what I'm talking about. So text to speech, how it used to work would be, or still works in HighLevel, and if you're choosing those models, is I talk, the AI translates that into text, and then the AI reads the text and then converts it into speech, and we go back and forth that way. This eliminates all the middlemen, so it knows speech and it reads speech and speaks back to you in speech. Very efficient, very snappy, very amazing. I mean, it's like 9 day. Let me see. No, not voice. Yeah, how to Zimmer. Yeah. So like, we that's what I was just mentioning on the MLS stuff. So you would subscribe to, there's third-party services that you can subscribe if you're a realtor, and then we brought that into HighLevel, so we can bring it into chat as well as voice, and we have to narrow that database down by asking those questions. You're trying to get it down to six homes, because if I just say I want to know all the 3-bedroom homes for sale in West Palm Beach, Florida, it's going to be hundreds, maybe 1,000. So you got to get that narrowed down. Do they want a pool? Do they want to be on the water? Do they want to be ocean view? Do they want to be have a dock? I mean, what's important to that customer? So you're trying to narrow that down, and then even specific neighborhood. Zip code may be good, but these MLS databases, when you're pulling in that data, it knows neighborhood. So you could say, listen, I want to be in this specific neighborhood in this city. And then that's the goal, is to get it down to 6. And then also price range, right? So, you can have a 3-bedroom house that costs a few $100,000. You can have a few bedroom house that costs millions. So get it in their price range, and then you could deliver those with a workflow, or even talk about them on the call and then deliver them via workflow after. So there's a lot of ways to do it. You can send them texts. You can say, here's a few. I'm going to send it to you on your phone right now. Text it, and text them the actual MLS link, and they can see all the pictures and everything. No, that's fine. Pricing's good. I mean, Melades, I think we've talked about this, especially with you. Like me, I'm the worst at pricing. I don't like to talk about pricing because I try to give away everything I have. And, Brian, he is really good at sales. And, I'm often too low. And he often, like, we have a kind of a rule. I don't really talk to clients about pricing because I'm very low usually. And, that's just how I am. And he asked me, hey, what do you think this is? What's the level of effort? I tell him, and I let him handle it because he handles pricing and usually gets the end result is better for us. But you pick up what I'm saying. I'm usually too low, generally, and you don't want to leave a lot of money on the table. But also keep in mind that your initial pricing is going to be titrate to effect, meaning, if these are your first clients, do what you got to do to get them, and then your second tier pricing would be higher. And maybe you have 4 tiers of that, where you start out low and then build it up to tier 2, tier 3, then tier 4. And then your schedule is really going to dictate it, right? If you're slammed and you're really not looking for work, and that's kind of how I am right now. I'm not looking for work. So our pricing is a little bit higher because we can't handle it anyway. So the bottom line is, that's something to think about, titrate it to your schedule. Don't do them so inexpensive that you have a line, but that's kind of how the pricing works. Yeah, I mean, you can pull properties and get everything about that property, but you could tie that into other databases. You don't even need Zillow to do that. You could say, hey, listen, how big is the lot? I mean, you got property appraiser databases. There's so many, but Zillow, easy. You tie that in, and you can get everything about a specific property. That's not an issue. I'm trying to sell a brand new caller into a property is generally what we've done in the past. So, well, listen, Melades, at the end of the day, it's your pricing. So if you have to come down to get your 4 clients under your belt, I would do whatever it takes. That's just my personal opinion. Get your first 4 clients, and then get your second tier pricing, and your third tier pricing, and your fourth tier pricing. But take his advice, but you don't have to. It's not concrete. Whatever works for you, and then from there, you can increase. But your goal is to get your first 4 clients or so under your belt, and then raise your pricing tiers as needed. Okay, so starter plan. That's an excellent question, Harold. You hit the nail on the head. So HighLevel has three pricing tiers. I've analyzed this too because it's super important, and I see a lot of people wasting money. So essentially, if you're going to start out on the $97 plan, it's a great plan to get your feet wet. You're going to need to set up your agency if you're going to resell. So you're going to have you get 3 sub accounts. You're going to set up one for your agency. You're going to need one for demos. Specifically, do not put demos in your agency account. You're going to have a disaster on your hands in a month. So only demos go in their own account. Also, I know like how it is in HighLevel. So people like to collect assets. Okay. So maybe I give you a snapshot. Do not ever open that into your main account because you're just going to clutter up your account. Each snapshot I put into its own sub account until I evaluate it and make sure that it's what I need or what they said it was. And then I could, I would leave that. But you have 3 sub accounts, so maybe you're going to sell one. The $97 plan really is designed for people that are going to utilize HighLevel for their own business. Honestly, it's really not for you to resell because there's not a lot of room for that. Once you get into $297, you have unlimited sub accounts. So every snapshot that you get, you can put it in its own account. And what do I do with that? Well, when I was first starting, what I would do with that, I would look at those snapshots and learn automation by looking at them. Things have changed. AI, workflow builder and HighLevel is very good now. Ask AI is getting much more improved. So, you don't really need to look at them anymore. I mean, there's a lot of tools in the platform, but what I would suggest is if people give you snapshots, don't put them in one account. Each snapshot should have its own, so you have them separated. Because maybe you only need that one workflow out of that snapshot, which is totally doable. You can just bring one workflow and move it to your agency and utilize it. You don't need all the fluff. Okay. So then you're at 297. Where it makes sense for you to go to 497, when you have 6 clients, six to 7 clients, you transition to the 497 account. And the reason for that is just the rebilling alone will allow you to recoup that cost, and your high level will be free. So all those little pennies that you can rebill in high level, like SMS, email, everything associated with it. Maybe you're hosting WordPress, just different features. If you have roughly six accounts, it's a break-even point. You're better off being in the 497, because the 497 will give you better API access. It will allow total rebilling, but you can auto deploy accounts. So at 6 accounts is really the threshold. I see people with 20 accounts and they're still in 297. They're leaving a lot of money on the table. So, okay, yeah. So yeah, well, number one, Jose brings up a great point. He's in the chat. He says, listen, it's hard to sell the price with voice AI because it's unpredictable customer behaviors. And he's 100% right. So one of the other things that I found doing this, helping a lot of people, is that they try to say, hey, listen, I'm making this up. I'm charging you $800 or $500 a month all in. Don't do that. Even from the start. You always want to, even if you have to manually do those 6 clients and bill them, it's always going to be a fee plus usage. Okay. No matter what, you should be marking up that usage a little bit, don't crush them on that. So it'd be, a fee for you and then plus usage. The reason I say that is once you transition to 497, you have markup ability. The worst thing you can do is say, oh, listen, I was charging you, $499 all in, and now all of a sudden it's $499 plus usage. They don't like that. So you have to start that right from the get-go. Don't say everything's all in, because you don't know, as Jose brought up, you don't know how much usage they're going to have. So you can have somebody that's a light user, and that's great, or you can have somebody that's an excessive user, and now you're barely breaking even or not making as much as you thought. And I would set that stage right from the get-go. Charge per month and then charge per usage, even if you have to manually do it at first. Because once you get 6 clients, it'll be on autopilot, but it's not going to be a big disruption. You're not going to be like, well, you used to charge me and it was all in. Now you're charging me extra. And people just have a heartache with that, like you're nickeling, diming them. The other thing is with pricing, I didn't mention it, I probably should, is most people are totally okay with you paying higher on the setup fee side, because they know it's semi-custom to their business. You're programming this, they get it, but they don't like the reoccurring. So you have to make sure that is kind of, fair / modest. You don't want to crush them on the monthly maintenance and optimization. Make that somewhat palatable. The thing is, I've seen people crush it on that. I almost fall over, but in the back of my head, I know that they're going to be on the cutting block, the chopping block. So make that monthly reoccurring charge, make that reasonable, because that's where people will get rid of you. And I want them to, we've already done all the work. I want them to stay. So keep that monthly reoccurring reasonable, not give it away. I said reasonable, totally different. But if you want to make extra money, it would be on the setup side, because they anticipate that, because you're building these out, as I mentioned, semi-custom. And if you give them a guarantee, which I would recommend, you say, listen, we're going to have this up and running for you, at least a demo in the next 7 days. That's good for them. They feel at ease that it's not going to take them months and months, because once they sign that contract, they want it done. And then lastly, make sure you are doing your work and optimizing it and reporting, like I mentioned earlier in the call. So, it's very crucial that you keep that maintenance and optimization reasonable. So, okay. So how do you reach out? So a little bit, how we can help you. I'm not, like I mentioned, I'm not here to sell anything to anyone. Most of our stuff is done. I try to make it so you don't pay us anything is my goal. So if you are an agency and looking to sell this and need help, you can use our affiliate link to upgrade. It doesn't matter to us. If you are new, upgrade, just starting, it doesn't matter. We have an affiliate link. You use that, and we give you an amazing. No one does what we do. I can tell you that right now. We have a full-time team. We do 24 calls a month, live calls. We have our own marketplace with assets. We give you a gift card every month. We have applications, for certain tiers that you get access to. There's just so much, but I'm not, like I said, I'm not here to sell anyone anything. That's not what I do. If you would like to take advantage of that, we'll put that in the Facebook group as well. And we can help you along the way. We set up everything for you. You don't have to set up anything. We set it all up for you. We onboard you because we found it more effective. And listen, we're not perfect. I mean, I'll tell you that we're not perfect. We're trying to be perfect, but we're not. And we're constantly reevaluating. Our job is never done. And I had to get in grips with that because I'm a perfectionist and I want everything to be perfect, but we're dealing with a lot of factors and it's never going to be perfect, but we're never done. We'll continue to improve. So yeah, no worries. I appreciate you guys attending the call. Free trial. So I generally, I don't do free trials for any clients generally, never. If they want to demo it, they can do a demo, but I don't say, okay, you're going to use it for, 2 months for free. I don't do that because I still have to set it up and I want them to pay me for the setup. So, I mean, as far as customer access, I mean, they have access. You can shut down access on certain features for sure. But as far as them getting into the prompt area, I don't think that's gated off right now. I could be wrong. Things change in HighLevel when I'm sleeping. So somebody here can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think so. But the other thing is I have clients that never log into HighLevel and they use HighLevel. I mean, those are the best. They never even log in once. We handle all of those pillars that I mentioned, and they never log in even one time, which that's a dream for us. They don't go in there. We get it. We set it up, and then that's it. That's the end of it. So, but yeah, we don't do free trials at all. I mean, I don't think we've ever done that. Honestly, I don't think we've ever given a free trial. So, all right, everybody, any other questions last minute? No, good to go. Well, thank you guys for joining. I really appreciate it. Thanks for spending your Saturday morning with me. If you guys felt it was so do I know if speech to speech is going to be unlimited? That's a great question. I don't know the pricing. HighLevel, first of all, let me tell you, there's a lot of dynamics around pricing. Okay. So speech to speech, I've done a lot of research on it. I've been testing it for a few months. Number one, HighLevel has partnered with a lot of the providers. So they have a contract with OpenAI. They have a contract with Google, which is Gemini, for their models as well. So they get better pricing than you can get on the street. So you're typically, they're offering us a better price break. I specifically don't mention pricing because it's really not up to me. It's a HighLevel policy. But what I did look at is the cost of that model usage is basically, it's higher, but you're eliminating steps. So if you're using text to speech, you're eliminating those middle steps. So I have a feeling it's going to be very close to what you're paying right now. And would it be included in unlimited? I don't know the exact answer to that, and I would be only guessing because I haven't seen anything on pricing. But if I know HighLevel, I think it would be, and that's just a guess. And don't hold me to that. Don't say Mike said that, but I just have a feeling because they're very generous at what they do from what I've seen. I've never seen a software product where you can pay $297 a month and have 1 million sub accounts under you and have unlimited contacts. HubSpot is not like that. HubSpot, if you have over 5,000 contacts, you're paying for those extra. If you want to use AI tech in HubSpot, you're paying for that. So that's why people creep up and they have a $15,000 HubSpot bill. Here you're paying $297, you can have 1 million people under you. They don't care. So they're pretty generous at what they offer. That's why I love it so much. I'm not here to sell HighLevel. I just use it for my own business and I really enjoy it. And I think it's amazing. So, at the end of the day, I think they're pretty fair on what they do for the most part. I haven't seen one time where they've, looking to slight the customer or overcharge us. I think it's been the opposite. Honestly, I can't even believe they do it in most cases. Yeah, so they just released, Jose, they just released MCP hookup in super agents for VAPI. So you can hook VAPI up to high level now. You know, you know, pretty decent, you know. Do you need it? You know, I don't know. It's up to you. It's really the use case. VAPI is a great software. I mean, I've used it for a lot of clients, a lot more difficult to navigate, but I would almost put it end to end. I would almost put it, you know, high level right there. And because there is a trade-off, and the one trade-off is integration. You know, the integration, you know, that these guys are doing with all these products, I mean, that's really where the value is. So all those actions and everything are totally amazing, and that's where the power is. To me, I can make it do a lot of things that, you know, you would think never be able to be done on some of these other platforms. So yeah, so Jose has it. Yeah, so like I said, I use retail. I've used VAPI for customers, but the integration piece is a lot difficult. It's more difficult. So at the end of the day, you know, the choice is really you. It's really up to you. You know. All right. Good night from the Philippines. Good seeing you guys last week. It was an amazing event. So. All right, guys. Well, have a good day. I'm going to sign off. I will get on my my to-do list after this call, which is get into the community and make sure you guys have all the assets you need. And I appreciate everyone spending a couple hours with me. I will see you guys later.